We back. We're recording and streaming. We're doing both.
Oh shit, are we live?
Yeah, we live.
Alright,
We
well,
live.
ladies and germs, welcome back to the Crashin' on the Couch podcast. We've been taking a bit of a hiatus.
A lot of shit has happened.
Um,
I live here.
yes,
I'm no longer crashing on the couch.
Peyton has moved. He's
I'm
upgraded.
crashing on the couch now.
Yeah, you're right.
Peyton has upgraded from the couch to a bed with no bed frame. Actually, in a bedroom in this
But
house.
it's a bed.
It is a bed.
A bed with no bed frame is better than the regular bed, in my opinion.
I don't care.
Now Riley crashes on the couch. As you may notice from the feed, we also have a different couch. A new couch. A slightly used couch. A better couch than the previous couch. Better for crashing.
I don't think you said. I think you like to say couch 2 more times, and that's
Couch, couch. There we go.
I mean, this is the Crashing on the Couch podcast. So.
I feel like you guys need to have like the word couch said at least a minimum 20 times in at least every episode.
It's a
20 times
doable
a
goal. A couch counter. So, welcome back, Riley.
Thank you. It's been a hot minute.
It has been a hot minute. Oh, sorry, Matt. Since you've been on the show. Our other reoccurring guest, Brennan, also moved in. So you'll be seeing
But he's crashing
in a bed.
in a bed. He no longer crashes on the couch either.
All right, so tonight's topic, we got a pretty spicy topic tonight, boys.
Avatar.
I love blue people.
Yes.
Yo,
So,
it's such
Can't
an
wait for Avatar
underrated,
6.
such an underrated movie.
As you know, James Cameron has given us a timeline about Avatar 5. So we're going to be talking about
Avatar 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Can't wait for
yeah,
the fourth trilogy.
Jamie
Fourth trilogy.
Jamie Cams has given us a lot of insight about the the Avatar prequels, the upcoming ones, and no, we're not fucking talking about the blue people. We're gonna talk about it was for like a couple weeks the number one show on Netflix, the Avatar: The Last Airbender.
3 weeks straight.
Uh, Thank you, Matt. 3 weeks straight, as it should be, frankly, and it's 3 weeks straight as number one, even longer than that on the top 10 list. I love that Netflix has a top 10 list now.
It was still on the top 10 the other day when I was looking.
Is it? It's still
It's
on.
like number 7 or something now.
People
So
took a break for a little bit and then it went back up.
Yeah. People watched it like 4 times in a row and then took a break now.
And then, well, they took a break and then
And then went back to watching
went back to watching it again.
I just finished it with 10 fucking times.
it's 5 times.
Yeah, so I had not seen it start to finish until like this week.
Riley made it to 24 years old without seeing Avatar: The Last Airbender. So
I mean, I had
he's
seen,
our
like episodes interspersed with I'm like sick from school or something back when it was like new.
he's our guinea pig tonight. Hence our guest, because he is not.
They reversed
First timer.
roles. They reversed roles. First it was him, with Evangelion for his first watch.
Well, I was also.
Yeah, we were
Oh,
both on our
wait,
first
yeah,
watch.
I was
Yeah.
the only one. Oh, okay.
So yeah.
How do we want to begin? I guess maybe let's ask Riley what he. I guess let's just start with reviewing each books. Each one.
Yeah, Riley, give us
So
your
one's
take.
kinda dog shit until like the last 3 episodes.
It's very episodic. I don't think it's dog shit, but it's very bounty basic.
Yeah, I mean that's
Cartoon.
like a little hyperbole, but
Yeah, it's
on
very
my end.
it's very bounty basic, cartoony.
Monster of the Week.
Monster of the week, problem of the week, like
Yeah.
maybe a moral theme by the end of
Like
the
a lesson.
episode. Yeah, lesson.
One thing I didn't
that's
necessarily
basically,
expect,
yeah.
because I knew some of the main story beats from book 3, just from either seeing an episode or like osmosis, basically. But I was not aware that like so many of the characters from like books 1 and 2 like came back at the end, which I thought that was pretty cool actually. Like they didn't like I thought it was handled relatively well, where it wasn't like super in your face or super like over the top. It was just like, oh yeah, well like these characters like they were in the show, so like, and they have a reason to be here, so they're here again.
Like the White Lotus and the girl with the she's got the it's a mole, but it's also like a mongoose. It sniffs.
Yeah.
They track down Iroh with it.
Or like the Airbender
June,
guy
June
with
the sheer shoe.
The sheer shoe, yeah.
the Airbender guy with like the
Well,
sled looking thing, or
Well,
you know.
not just that, but the episode where they first meet Lee, or Jet.
Jet.
I mean Jet. The episode where they first meet Jet, a lot of his freedom fighters actually show up in the in season 3 in the invasion of when they invade the Fire Nation.
Yeah.
A lot of them actually
Pipsqueak and
The Duke.
Oh yeah, the Duke. I think it's the Duke and Longshot. I think
It's Pipsqueak and the Duke.
Is that
The little
yeah,
kid.
it's Longshot.
I'm so bad with names is the other thing. So like, and I like super binged this show over like a few days. So especially the side characters, I'm not gonna necessarily know by name.
Oh yeah. So that was Pipsqueak was the
Yeah, that I remember because Pipsqueak was the big one, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I remember that.
Which
But like that's like an exception.
I love that Pipsqueak is a very like blatant reference to Robin Hood, because Jet's like Robin Hood and Pipsqueak is like Little John,
Yeah.
very large man with a little in his name.
Yeah, but except it's that episode that's actually one of the like because they take the Robin Hood figure and they're like, wait, these guys are actually like assholes, like they're not like they have like a like their motives are there, but their intentions are poor. Like the way they're going about it is all wrong.
It's a good motivation, poor execution.
Yeah.
They take that to the extreme and illustrate that very well.
I love the first episode when they meet him because, in my opinion, that one has my favorite Aang line ever in it when he goes, "Pipsqueak, that's a funny name. You think my name is funny?
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Aang just goes to the throat.
So yeah, I mean, I was talking with Peyton a little bit, but basically the end of book 1 is kind of like you're like,
Alright.
well, okay, like the show's kind of like almost kind of it gets good at the end of book 1, I think. Where,
It
like,
definitely
it's,
does.
It's like kind of shit goes down, and then like this is kind of what the show is about, and like what we what this is what we can do with the show, and not just like
almost where
fucking
we're,
around.
almost
kind of
where we're gonna
episodes.
take the show as well, because I was saying like that's where like they actually have like multiple character deaths from main characters to side characters. And it's weird because some of the main characters' deaths are like taken really seriously, and then some of the characters' deaths are just blatantly just like jokes. Like the one character that's supposed to marry the princess, right? That's like all like up in like Sokka's face. The guy that's leading the mission, like he's acting like an asshole. You know, he's not really a character. He's just like a side piece, right? But like. What he was planning was sneaking onto General Zhao's ship and taking him out. And he gets to General Zhao, and he's like, ah,
It's like
and like
parried off the boat.
Yeah.
Get your fate.
General Zhao and Iroh.
General Zhu.
Oh yeah. Well, General Zhao and Iroh are having a conversation. He comes popping up, and he literally just throws him overboard in the middle of the ocean.
Never mentioned again.
And he's never mentioned again. Like he literally dies. Like he literally just gets murdered, and it's put out as a joke scene. And it's like, it is funny, but like looking back on it, it's like, wait a second. They actually just fucking killed this guy.
I mean, he can swim. He's water trap. I'm sure he knows how to swim.
Was he a bender though?
No, but I'm sure he knows how to swim.
I mean,
It's freezing cold water.
I mean,
You're not gonna live that long.
I mean, I'm not saying
It's
his
the North
chance of
Pole.
survival is high, but I mean, it's not like a guarantee.
I mean, they killed him off in the sense of the narrative, at very least.
Yeah.
He's never mentioned again.
I think they literally killed him personally. Because I think the episode prior or like coming up to that point, they foreshadow like some of you people are never going to be seen again. Like the leader of the Water Tribe is like speaking, like he's doing his like speech before the war, and like he's one of the characters they pan to. Because it's him, it's that character, the daughter of the princess, who also dies, and then I forget who the last character that they pan to.
Spoilers.
It's Avatar.
Dude,
right?
if you
the last one they panned to Paku, but he doesn't end up dying.
Oh,
Paku
okay.
was the last one they panned to.
Okay, but he's like some of you people we will never see again, and he's like that character's like the first one, and then the princess is the second one, and then Paku's the last one. But Paku doesn't die, I guess. But like the princess dies, and well, he's literally never seen again.
Why don't we just be collective here and just say he's fucking dead?
I think he's fucking dead.
Let's be collective and say he's dead.
And they did it in such a jokingly, like, charismatic way. Because they go back to their conversation, like, Zhao and Iroh go back to their conversation. Yeah, he's like, literally says, as I was saying, and, like, goes back to the conversation, like...
It's time to meet your fate.
Worst assassin ever.
Yeah.
My favorite thing was, though, you know what I noticed about that episode? So you know how, when it went in and Sokka made fun of him because they had the fucking Fire Nation uniforms from, like, 80 years ago?
Yeah.
If you notice, when he went in to try to attack Zhao, he was still wearing that old uniform.
Yeah, it's almost like they let him.
They never actually ended up changing the uniform. So, like,
No.
my thing is, like, how the hell did he get all the way up there?
Yeah, because they threw Sokka off for like starting the fight or whatever.
Yeah, and I was like, how the hell did he get all the way up there with that old uniform?
They probably just let him go. Because they knew he probably, like, let's be honest, like, if you're on there, you see that, you're just like, he's probably an Indian anyway.
What were these uniforms like 100 years ago?
And you think that this guy is gonna take on not only Zhao but also Iroh? Like, hey, come on.
I could see him assassinating Zhao by sheer luck, but Iroh would have just fucking killed him.
Yeah.
Iroh would have just straight killed him.
And that's another thing. Iroh just let him do it. Iroh just let Zhao throw him overboard. Iroh, the most like protect all life character, is like just lets him like yeet this guy overboard. Yeet.
There's a lot of like implied deaths in that show.
Jet's easily the fucking funniest, man. You never actually know what the hell happened.
He's lying or whatever.
That's why, like, one of my favorite episodes in this whole series is the episode where they go to the play. It's like, oh, it's the Great Divide. Let's just keep flying.
That's the last episode before like the big long finale.
I love it.
It's so silly.
It's just like, well, because I never realized like the joke with it, because rating wise, the Great Divide is the least. I'm pretty sure it's like one of the least like rated show episodes.
Oh, it is, because it's also like one of the most played.
Yeah, but that's why like in that episode, I just love that like he's like, oh, that's the Great Divide. Let's just keep flying. Completely skips over it.
Yeah.
Like, whenever they float the rock on top of Jet, and Zuko's just like, did Jet just die? It's like, well,
It's like it's so ambiguous. So you can't even tell. Like, it's funny because that episode almost works like as a clip show.
Oh no, it is a clip show.
Well,
Like they
it's-
said it is.
Well, because
so.
normally you would play a clip show in order to save on budget, so you wouldn't have to ever animate anything for that episode.
But they
But
do.
they made a whole episode with the function of a clip show.
Yeah.
So
book one is pretty average cartoon, episodic.
like not like bad, I wouldn't say necessarily, but definitely not up to the rest of the show.
Yeah, I think you're muted. I think.
Damn it, Ethan, you gave me a mic and muted me, you asshole.
Well, he wanted to make. Yeah. So, and your mic is pretty sensitive, so don't pull it too close.
Okay.
It is.
Oh
pretty
yeah, I can.
sensitive.
Oh my lord, yeah, I can see that up top.
Yeah, yours is pretty sensitive. So
Can't you turn down the sensitivity from there?
I can, but like with Ethan using it, he speaks at a different volume. So
Oh.
that's the.
I would have to change it in the middle of the broadcast.
Well, sorry.
Well, you can easily just move the mic away. But yeah, so is that pretty
And then,
unanimous though? That
honestly, it's like the first 5 episodes of book 2 are like
similar in
not
nature.
that good either. And then like
So-
Toph comes in at like episode 6, and then like Toph and Iroh like the two best characters in the show.
Oh yeah.
So
I think Zuko.
well, Zuko's like okay as a character and like with like development, Zuko's probably the best character, but like Iroh and Toph are like the funnest characters.
Okay, yeah, that I can agree
Like
with.
they're my favorite, I would say.
I can't
but
see
that's
anything.
not
It's so pitch black in here. Oh no! What a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh no, I couldn't imagine that.
Toph, what is this? Well, I can't. I'm assuming it's a piece of paper, but I'm assuming what you're talking about is what's on the paper.
When they're flying, oh there it is, and then they all look.
That'll be what it sounds like when one of you spots it.
Yeah. That's probably one of the best.
And then just
That's one of the first times she pulls that kind of thing too.
Yeah, it is. Like, oh hey,
'Cause that's
guys,
like right
look.
after she joins, I think, is when they go. into
What?
the
You're too
desert.
good for libraries? I held a book once. Didn't really do it for me.
Honestly, it's so funny like how they play it off because like if you think about like because she sees everything though like in
Yeah.
like it's actually understandable why they would still believe her because like
Yeah.
so I would like in reality like, if you think about it I would believe her too because she does react and act to everything.
Yeah.
So
that
it's
is
like when
true.
you show her something or like she acts to something you think it's real. Like you would actually think it's real. So it's such a good joke. And even if you think about it like, in terms of that, it's like the joke's even better because like you would actually believe her.
Yeah, Toph's handled really well. Like even like the fight scenes and stuff, because it's like a lot throughout most of the show. There's like almost always somebody like kicking, like throwing like rocks or whatever like through the air and stuff, and she can handle it like relatively well. But like a lot of times she'll just get like wrecked because she can't exactly tell, stuff flying through the air,
Mhm.
because she can't feel the vibrations or whatever. So I mean, great
But she
character,
can get it.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Has she been lava?
I don't think so.
No, she couldn't. Bending lava, that's more of a, like, we're getting into lore shit. We're not really sure. I think bending lava is probably more of a,
Fire.
well, it's probably more of a, like, avatar.
Fire has like rock and stuff in it, so I'd assume like an earthbender might be able to.
Well, I think it's more of a, like, because the person to really do it is, Avatar, Roku, Avatar Roku.
I mean, fire.
Well, but yeah. So like my point being is an avatar can do it because they can bend both fire
The
and
lava could
rock.
theoretically be like water, earth, and fire potentially, because it's like still fluid. Like I know it's not like water, but like I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I think
I don't know the extended lore like kind of.
yeah
stuff,
I
but
think lava is probably something that probably like firebenders can manipulate but can't really control. And like my guess would be just based upon like the rules of how the elements work, an avatar can control lava.
I think when it
Like,
comes
fully.
to firebending, I think it works the same as the fucking jets. Like whenever fucking Ozai was flying around and shit in the final battle. I know that. I read an article saying that with like Ozu flying around like that can only happen during the comet.
Ethan said that.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah,
So that can only happen during the comet. So I think because it said I just read it. It said that lava bending is not a common firebending technique. So I think you can only lava bend if you're a normal firebender. I think you can only lava bend during Sozin's comet.
Yeah, or I would assume if you're an avatar, because it would be easier if you're.
I like
an avatar.
how they had kind of three like super advanced like techniques with the lightning bending. For fire, the blood bending for water, and like metal bending for earth. They're like kind of like all three like
Have
not
like
necessarily
a
that they
unique-
developed them, because like Toph develops metal bending essentially.
But
like,
there's
it's
like a
kinda
special.
yeah,
There's a
super
special.
advanced, like kind of like versions of bending that.
Well, because
Show
if
up.
you notice, whenever she does like normal firebending, whenever she does normal bending, she either like punches it or hits it like that. And I notice whenever she does the metal bending, she does it like that and hits it with like this part of her wrists. If you ever watch that episode again, whenever she breaks out, she hits the things like that. So it's like a whole different hand technique.
Well, she was hitting it all over the place, and then when she starts to use it, she's like.
Yeah.
When she starts to use it, she uses everything.
Although,
But
like,
like,
yeah, I think
she
we
was
all-
just hitting it. until
It-
she actually felt the
It,
like
it's
the
cool.
earth inside of
Well,
it.
you see it more in book 3. Whenever her metal bending is better in book 3, but like
Yeah,
you
she
see,
basically ends up like just metal bending, almost the same as
Earth bending, yeah.
well,
by
the
the end of it.
technique is different. Like the moves she's doing, like for earthbending, are very rigid. Like
Ye-
how she teaches Aang and how the basis for all earthbending is. But the metal bending has like she's doing a lot more like folding shit on itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Like she's
yeah.
not like just like doing the fucking like bam and like the fucking like door flies off. It's like she's like bending it and then it fucking moves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they like change how she has
Yeah,
to use it.
yeah. Her
Which
her
is
movements
really, which is really
become
cool because
different.
that's how the other special bending
Yeah.
features work. Like the
What's the special for air? Is there one?
well, there probably is one, but like, how would Aang ever learn it if he's the last
Yeah.
Airbender?
I mean-
ball thingy.
What?
It's his ball thingy.
Oh yeah, dude, the air scooter. I
I
mean, they say I've seen some like charts, fan-made charts that it was like flying is the higher form of airbending, but that doesn't make sense because flying is like kind of inherent to airbending, you know,
Yeah, it's like part of the. It's like part
the
of.
basic set.
So
Like,
it says here, airbending is the only bending art in which no avatar has demonstrated the use of at least one of its sub skills.
mm.
So airbending is the only bending that no avatar has actually learned a sub skill on.
What do you mean?
Like the lightning bending is a sub skill of fire bending. Metal bending is a sub skill of earth bending. There has been no avatar in history that has made a sub skill to airbending.
I mean, like, as far as the avatars we know of, none of them
I
can.
mean, that makes
so,
sense for Aang because he's the only one there.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be able
And-
to learn from anybody other than like.
But
Also, the
previous
way
avatars.
the air nomad society was like the principles that they're kind of like built on were more like laissez-faire, like laid back, not
Yeah.
necessarily like, oh, we need to figure out.
they didn't want to fight in the first place.
Yeah,
so
we
it's
need to
Yeah,
like
they didn't
develop.
have, like, an army or something.
We need to develop
No, they
our
didn't.
technology, our bending abilities, because we gotta like fight people off, or like we're looking for a new way to like. We're not. They were the type of like society it was not the type that would produce a person that was gonna experiment
yeah,
too heavily
in their
with like.
But with
what it
avatars,
can
like
do.
which avatar? No, there isn't really any previous. Like even like Avatar Roku, a Firebender, he didn't use lightning. Like he couldn't use lightning.
I mean,
The subsets I think subsets are like specific towards like your base, but like even then it's like you can't use it. Like even like it doesn't like avatars never use that because like there's metal bending, but like nobody knows the metal bending except for Toph. And then
but it could be
well,
taught.
oh, and
It
then
could be
blood
taught.
bending, and then blood bending. There's only one, technically two people that
It was
can
the
only
one,
learn.
the one lady. for
The
a
one
long time.
lady. So I guess the only one was lightning. Lightning is the only subset that like anyone could have learned, but lightning was obviously one that the firebenders knew because it kept on being taught down. So like I feel like that like lightning might have been one that like at least Roku definitely would have used because he personally knew the Fire Lord.
Right.
So like you would think that he would have learned it at some point.
So just because
But he didn't.
like
I feel like those specific abilities are something that like maybe the avatar just doesn't have time to use it, and by the time you learn all the elements, what's the point?
I mean, so just because you never see someone using it in the original series doesn't mean
Oh, he's got
it's
it, sorry.
impossible to learn. But when it comes to lightning, like the way the magic system is for bending in the first place is heavily dependent on like the person's their training, their physicality. It's heavily dependent on their emotional like control and emotional state as well, which is
Oh,
why
yeah,
Zuko can never lightning bend. Like, and
But
it's
he at
it's
least learns to deflect it. But
Yeah.
the big thing with him learning how to deflect it was his emotions.
yeah, it's also like breeding too, like why so many firebenders are like royalty. Um, why? But like Azula could do it because she was like more like
she was a prodigy. Like
Yeah.
that's
And
like
Zuko was
shown
not-
with the type of fire that comes out of her. Like
she's also like sociopathic,
yeah.
and he wasn't. So and Iroh even says it's the cold-blooded firebending, you know, but Iroh had peace, so he was able to do it. And the same type of
does he do
principle.
it, or does he only?
Yeah, he does
No,
it.
he does
He
it,
teaches
yeah. Oh, he
when
does?
he's teaching Zuko to do
Oh,
it.
you're right. Yeah, when he literally shoots it at Zuko. Okay.
And I think he even does it in retaking Bossing Say.
No, when retaking Bossing Say, he just does a fireball. He
Okay.
does what he did when he originally destroyed the wall. That's why he's called the Dragon of the West, because he breathes he breathed fire. He breathed the fireball to blow up the wall of Bossing Say.
Right.
That's why he's called and that's what he used to retake Bossing Say.
Yes. Couldn't remember if in that whole sequence of that battle if he used it or not.
Did he? Well, he just watched it
I
today,
don't
so
remember.
Okay.
It's because I just read it and it said that I don't even think lightning bending was really that popular of a thing back then. Because it says I just read it said like the first couple people to use it, one of the first people ever to use it was Iroh and Ozai. So I don't even know.
Oh, if they were the
I
first
don't even know if
people.
lightning bending was a known thing when Roku was alive.
Okay.
It might have existed, but I don't think
They might not have discovered how to do it or whatever.
So basically all the subsets of bending were just discovered.
Yeah, it says that it was
within-
discovered in the fourth generation, which is current Avatar gen, not Korra, but the current Avatar.
The show,
Okay, got it.
That
So
be
I think Iroh, Ozai, and Azula are the only ones that know how to shoot lightning.
Okay.
that being said, it's also like heavily dependent on how skilled they were, like how much they trained, their mental state, like all that.
I mean,
Like,
I get that,
not
but
a lot of
Avatar is supposed to be able to do it.
Yeah,
You
but
know what I
are
mean? Like-
right, but are they going to be able to do it with their non-primary? Like Aang's primary was, I mean, Roku you would think would be able to do it if his primary was fire, but there's more complicated. There's more reasons that the Avatar becomes the Avatar. It's not just like, oh yeah, Aang is the best Airbender at the time, so therefore
Well,
he
it's
became
never, it's never if you're the best or not. It's just
exactly. So even if your primary is lightning, and your even if you're the Avatar and your primary is fire, doesn't mean you would be the best, and doesn't necessarily mean you would be able to master fire to the point of bending lightning, even if you are the Avatar. You know, like it doesn't necessarily, just because you're the Avatar doesn't mean you are the best at that specific element, or like have
Yeah,
a
I mean,
complete
that's
mastery of.
pretty like because Roku has a lot of trouble with water, and then Aang has a lot of trouble learning at least the basics of Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
That's because they said, I think Roku actually said something about that. Either Roku
It's because of the
Yeah, it
opposites.
says something about that. They actually
Yeah,
say
tough.
that in the show where it's always, no matter what it is, it's always harder for them to learn their opposites.
yeah.
Well, and I realized too that Aang never actually learned how to shoot lightning. He
No.
never learned how to produce it and shoot it.
No,
Zuko only
just
taught him how to
redirect it.
Yeah, yeah, but that was just with the time. Like, at least I presume that at some point he might have been able to learn from Iroh.
I mean,
At some point.
Redirecting lightning is a waterbending technique.
Zuko never, or like Aang never actually mastered all. Oh, within the show, maybe
Who?
maybe like after the show was done, like
Well,
Yeah,
Iroh, I said Iroh would have been able to teach him. I
Yeah.
feel like Zuko is pretty much said that he can't learn how to use it, because before Iroh teaches him how to redirect it, he tries to teach him how to shoot it, and it doesn't work.
right. So what I was saying, like within the 3 seasons of the show, Aang only actually ever masters airbending. Like he doesn't master water, earth, or fire.
He doesn't master
He just
anything,
gets like
yeah.
a moderately like decent level of knowledge about it. He never actually masters any of them.
No.
I mean, when you realize though, it's kind of weird to think about, like the whole ending for that entire series was sheer fucking luck. Think about it. If he would have gotten thrown into that rock, and that fucking rock wouldn't have smacked him in the back in this fucking lightning spot, it wouldn't have opened up his last chakra. He wouldn't have been able to go in the Avatar state, and Ozai probably would have killed him.
Well, it was kind of like presumed that like Aang was also just holding back himself because he didn't want to kill him. Because he could have redirected lightning before that happened, and he literally chose not to.
Yeah, but that's
So
like-
Aang could have beaten him without the Avatar state, but he just was choosing not to.
Yeah.
he just couldn't, without the Avatar state, he couldn't like he couldn't
was
not
kinda,
kill
He was
him.
kind of getting shit wrecked. Aside from that, though, so
He was getting shit wrecked, definitely,
Cause,
but
like,
he did get the opportunity to
yeah.
to
I mean, if
win
he
the
didn't
fight.
pull out the big, that's like a video game boss almost kind of thing, where like if they just don't do the one move that you can counter, like it was almost like a hopeless situation where like
Yeah.
you know, if he didn't shoot the lightning, like Aang would have kind of been fucked.
Yeah.
But you know,
Well, let's okay, sweet. We finished book 1. Let's actually talk about. Let's finish talking about book 2.
And then
so the beginning
I want to get back in at some point before we close. We have to some degree, reiterate the conversation about like, is the ending like how could the end?
Oh, we'll talk about
Yeah,
the ending.
the
We'll
ending
talk
and
about
like
the ending.
critiques of the ending. I guess is a good way to phrase it.
Yeah.
But book
let's,
2,
so I really
book
like
2.
once book 2 kind of gets on its way. I really like how it kind of switches the formula up, because you're used to the kind of episodic stuff. You're used to seeing Zuko like, you know, go nuts, and Iroh like spout his, you know, his stuff at Zuko for being too hot-headed, and that's like the formula, right? So, and then Toph comes in to switch up the main cast, and then Zuko and Iroh are outcast. So we have like a little bit of insight from the sister.
Azula.
Yeah, Zula. But we largely don't have any insight to like the inner workings of what the Fire Nation are doing anymore, because Zuko and Iroh are not with them.
And
Right.
those are the only Fire Nation people we really know of outside of General Zhao. But General Zhao's plan was to invade the
Yeah, I do
Northern
like how
Water
his
Tribe.
death was handled too, because it really shows kind of like a fatal flaw in like the Fire Nation like attitude.
Yeah.
Where like they're just so prideful they can't even like, he would rather die than like admit he was like, he would need help from somebody that he wanted to like.
I feel that.
Or
I
like
feel
even-
that, bro.
or even him, or even like slightly before that. I guess we're going back to book 1 with General Zhao. But like everybody is like, yo, dude, don't kill the fish. Like you kill the like you obviously see taking away the fish fucking does shit, because like the moon's already fucked up by you taking the fish. So like everybody is like, yo, don't fuck with the fish. Iroh comes in and he's like, you touch that fish and I'm gonna fucking murder your ass. And Zhao's like, holy fuck, Iroh's about to throw hands. Like, do I actually do this?
Dude, Iroh
And
is
then he puts him away and he's like, yeah, fuck everyone. And then like, literally, it all goes to shit after that.
dude,
Everything
Iroh's
goes
the
to shit
most
after
based character.
Define based.
Not giving a fuck.
Oh yeah. You
That's
gotta
a
love
fucking.
Iroh.
That could be a
So,
fucking
We'll
soundbite.
get into
Define
let,
based.
let's finish talking about the show as a whole, and then we'll get into like characters, because characters characters will go on longer than we will about the overarching show. So
So I already told you on the phone, but basically the way that's set up, we're like,
yeah.
you know, you go through the desert and all this stuff, and you have like, they actually kind of take a break from showing Zula for a little bit, because to set up the kind of oh shit moment with the drill like on the wall. We're like, you're like, oh, they finally got there. Like they're gonna find Appa, and then like there's a giant fucking drill like penetrating the wall. You know, it's like, what the fuck? Like you had no reason to suspect it as like
Yeah.
even a watcher, because you don't have insight into, you know, kind of that, you know, the area of that.
Because typically something of that, like you might have heard word of mouth from like a bystander, or like
Or they
you
would
would've
have shown
seen-
you,
or
or
they
they were working on a big plan, you know.
Yeah, but because we don't
prepared.
know, because the characters who, like all the characters that you're watching, from like Aang and the gang, all the way to even Zuko and Iroh, who are Fire Nation, even they don't know about it. So like,
I don't
and
think
then
they
so like,
ever find out about that? I'm not sure they do.
They probably find out eventually.
I mean, as
because
far as like
Like within
Well,
book 2, dude,
like it was Zula that did it, and like Aang stopped it, and like all this stuff. They
within
probably
book
don't
2, who knows?
find out.
Because there's so much like information suppression within
Yeah.
Bossing Say.
Which we're gonna get into that.
There's-
Let's finish the drill part because the drill part's fucking. This whole like the whole like you were saying, the whole setup of the drill is great because like because not only is the writing around it nobody knowing and then it just being a giant ass fucking thing, but it makes sense why there's no hint about it actually makes sense.
Also, that fight on top, that drill episode's so good. The fight on top of it with Aang and Azula, you got shit coming from the sky. You got the
You
Earthbenders
got
throwing
the
the rocks.
Earthbenders like yeeting the rocks down
It's
like in
comedic.
desperation.
You got
like,
fucking Aang running up the wall. It's like a 3-dimensional battle space.
yeah.
You got Azula who like is like the hardest like the hardest firebender yet. Like you got him like using his like bare bones knowledge of earthbending. Like you got
what he has for waterbending,
Yeah.
which is like at first it's just like I think water that because Katara gives him the water,
The pouch.
Yeah.
the pouch for him to use, so he's using that, and then he uses the
The mud water.
he
whatever.
uses the mud water when it's starting to like spew
Yep.
out as like a weapon as well.
you got
So-
Sokka who like has 0 powers but like comes up with a plan to stop this shit. Like it's a good episode.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
So from watching the show when I was younger, I remember Sokka always being like useless basically, which he kind of is at the beginning of the show. But like
He's
he
the
kinda
comic
grows into
relief.
his own,
He's the
like
comic
in
relief.
book 2 and especially even in book 3, where like he's like he's like the schemer, like the plan maker, and then even his combat becomes pretty decent. I mean, he's not like a bender or anything, obviously, but
Sokka's my favorite character.
So
No
we
comments.
so we're only in well because like no one
Thanks, guys.
disagrees. He's just like yeah.
I mean,
Actually,
we talk about Zuko's character development because it's the most drastic, but I mean, there's a lot of character development all around in the show.
yeah.
Very well
I
done.
wanna get into character development after we get through the show.
All right.
But
We
now we're
didn't
about
structure
to
this
get in-
podcast as well as we
Sick.
structured the other ones.
Yeah, the
How
drill's
the
sick.
drill-
I had
handled
no
is really
pre-prepared
sick.
questions for this.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about it before, so. Okay, now we're about to get into some deep shit, okay?
I love I love the episode that just comes out of nowhere where it's just Zuko.
Dude, I was gonna get into this later,
It's
but
like
that's
probably my
lit-
favorite.
that is my favorite episode.
It might be it might be the best episode in the
Dude,
entire show.
Because like they just show Zuko at the beginning, and then like they just keep showing Zuko. Like,
The-
they don't like ever draw attention to the fact that like I was watching it and like I was like, what the fuck? Is this just Zuko? Like
Well, the
And
title.
then the episode
Well,
was out.
the episode title is Zuko
I
Alone.
wasn't reading the titles, so that's the other thing. But
Well, yeah, he was probably just hitting skip intro.
yeah, I'm just hitting skip.
I mean,
But so I checked the time and there's like 5 minutes left. I'm like, have we seen anybody other than Zuko in this episode?
Yeah.
And I like scrolled back and I'm like, fuck, this is like sick.
This is sick.
that's whenever I rewatched it.
It's
Okay.
so crazy because you don't realize it.
Right.
Like it's literally like entire because like it's just him.
So this watch through, whenever I rewatched it, I actually started at Zuko Alone. I skipped all of book 1 because I didn't really give a shit about the monster of the week. Like there's good moments in book 1. There's a lot of great episodes,
I
but
mean, they
like
introduce like the spirit world. And stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's not all throwaway, but
no, but like
if you've seen it, you know the beats.
But yeah, I already watched the show so much as a kid, and I was like, I'm trying to get to I'm watching for nostalgia. I'm trying to get to the meat of the story, right? So I started with Zuko Alone, and like, not only is that such a great episode, but immediately after that is like a 3-part or like a 2-part episode where fucking the one after that is when they're all tired and Azula's chasing them, and like Zuko comes back with Iroh, so it's like that ties in.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you've ever watched it. I'm pretty sure Matt I know Matt has. I don't know if Peyton has, but like Akira Kurosawa, the OG Japanese director who made all the Japanese samurai films, which is like the way the samurai film works in Japan is akin to how the Western works in America.
Oh yeah.
Very similar. Oh,
Well,
I'm not even gonna say
like
very.
I'm not a movie savant, but even I,
Yeah.
knew that.
I mean, I'd say
couldn't
that's
tell
like.
you- I couldn't name off all the tropes or like exactly why, but
I wouldn't say that's common knowledge, but for people that are like, like moderately into like film and media, I would say that's pretty common knowledge. But like to the point where certain samurai films and certain samurai films and certain Western films like are direct. There's certain Western films that are direct reworkings of samurai storylines, and there are certain samurai storylines that are direct reworkings of Western films. And if you've watched any of Kurosawa, who is also heavily like the inspiration for the Jedi and the way the Jedi fight and a lot of George Lucas's shit, Zuko One is structured exactly like an OG samurai movie. Structured like it, it's animated like it's a samurai film. It's fucking beautiful. From like a filmmaking critical standpoint, just a fucking like great 20. Like you could watch that as a
it's like a short almost.
Actually, no, you fucking could watch it as a standalone short. Yeah. Because like honestly, going in like you don't really need to know everything. You don't need to know everything about Zuko's honor to. Yeah.
It tells a story.
Like you know somewhat of Zuko's story before that, but like you don't necessarily
And that's
have
the
to
first
still
time you
enjoy
get
it.
all the details.
Yeah.
Like
And like it hits so many of the samurai and also like Western tropes. You could make a Venn diagram of samurais and westerns. That'd be kind of interesting. But yeah. Anyways, now that I fucking like gushed over
so
fucking
that's kinda
that
before the
episode.
drill, but-
Yeah.
So after the drill, then
Pey-
it's Boston Say.
yeah,
Peyton
after-
didn't pour this for me. I'm just taking a
I
sip.
wanted you to take a sip of that because it's fucking great.
Nothing like some
Yeah, so
coconut
like the second
liqueur
half
and
of book 2 is like all
Coke.
Boston Say, but Boston Say is a really great setting. So like, it's like fine.
Well,
It's
because
not
it's
like a
massive.
boring.
It's fucking massive.
Well, that's the other thing too. It's like it's so varied.
Oh my
that
god,
it
it's
works.
massive.
Okay, Peyton. This is a family show.
Take a sip of beer.
But yeah, I like how it's kind of set up where like, I mean, they basically tell you straight off the bat that like, okay, everything's segregated by class. So like that's if you're not like a kid watching, kind of what that means.
Yeah.
But they don't really show like the tour lady's like kind of freaky and like really controlling, but they don't really like explicitly show like basically everybody's brainwashed and there's all kinds of like censorship and like all this stuff. That's not really, that's kind of like drip fed to a certain point. It's not like just all thrown at you at the beginning immediately.
It does a really good job of not reducing but like concentrating, like taking the concept of authoritarianism and boiling it down for a kid to understand.
Yeah.
And it's like that episode does a very good job of like highlighting the problems of like suppression of information, suppression of the First Amendment, and like highlighting the problems of an authoritarian society. And like besides the fact that the Earth Kingdom is based on China, the like beautiful parallels within Ba Sing Se to not only China today but like also Russia is just like fucking fantastic. Like the Dai Li is the KGB. Like
Bro,
I fucking love it.
People are. I don't want to get it super into this, but like people have been saying that the CIA are the Dai Li, and people are referencing the United States to the Earth.
I mean,
And it's like
so-
I think that's fucking funny as hell.
I think it's funny as hell. I would say a better take actually, if we were to reference anything from the show to the U.S., it would actually be the Fire Nation, if anything.
I mean, there are certainly
I would say
comparisons
more
with
parallels
the
with
United
the-
States, the Fire Nation.
I would say there's more for that with like, oh, we need to like.
I mean, Fire Nation is directly based off of pre-World War II Japan,
Mm,
but well, yeah, that's not like a question.
yeah,
But
I don't want to get super into politics. I don't want to get.
I
Super
mean, Avatar. There's politics all through Avatar,
It
but
is.
yeah.
It is. It is.
Um, I mean, to make the comparison of the Daily to the CIA, I mean, we are streaming on an internet platform, but
Dude, they already,
we all know that the
they
CIA.
already hear everything.
Yeah, you boys, you
We all
boys
have
know,
phones.
you
They
boys
hear
know what I'm
everything.
about.
TikTok.
I mean, you know, TikTok is a Chinese company, right?
Yeah. Well, did you see all the news stories?
Like
Recently?
India banned TikTok, like
Well, no,
which
they're-
good on
it's
them. Like fuck yeah,
Somebody
India.
reverse engineered TikTok, and it took forever because it was super locked up. And I mean, everything's mining your data, but TikTok's doing it at such an unprecedented level that it's way worse than everything else.
I'm glad I'm.
Never downloaded it. Probably never. will.
Yeah.
Probably
Not-
never. Will. I'm just not into that type of humor. So.
Dude, I wasn't into Vine even when Vine was big, and TikTok's kind of just like a fucking rebirth of Vine. Anyway, that's not the
It
point.
is definitely a rebirth.
Point being, what I was getting at is
Musically.
the CIA has done a lot of bad shit, but to compare the CIA to the Daily, the Daily is yes a secretive misinformation group, and so is the CIA in a lot of ways. But the Daily doesn't. You don't see the Daily going and exerting their influence on the Water Tribe. You don't. The Daily's not giving heroin to the Water Tribe rebels so they can sell it and get guns for the revolution. You know what I mean? It's the comparisons are there, but it's the comparison to the KGB and just the Chinese government is a much stronger 1-to-1 comparison.
Yeah.
And whereas to compare it to the CIA, you're I don't see you're pulling at straws, but it's
You're kind of nitpicking your references.
you can make the comparison, but it's not a straw. You can't say that's what it was based on because it's not. It's just clearly not. But yeah, dude.
There's a thing called world history.
Can I say fuck Xi Jinping on here? Is that problematic?
You just said it.
It's
So,
Twi- it's
well, you
Twi-
already
I thought it was a
said
family
it.
show, but
Yeah, I thought this was a family show.
I mean, I was told it was a family show.
You already said it. Can I say this? It's you already said it. I mean, honestly, if we get banned from Twitch, we get
I
banned.
mean, this is America. I thought this was America.
This is America. So
Be
yeah,
a great
no.
show.
If we're gonna talk about any specific episode in Book 2, though, outside of Zuko alone, we need to talk about the quote-unquote filler episode, debatably the best filler episode of all time, and that's Tales of Ba Sing Se. Because it's it clearly is a filler episode.
Mm.
It definitely is a filler episode. But they still use it for
even
major
then,
character.
so
They still use it for major character development, even though it
so
is.
I
filler
personally
episode.
don't mind filler.
You know I don't either.
At a base level, but it can't just be completely needless. Where
Yeah.
there has to be a reason. So not only was that for character development, but it also kind of showed the time passing, right? So because they're there for 2 months or something total, because they're waiting.
I mean,
they have to
probably.
wait 6 weeks to see the Earth King or whatever. So they're
Yeah,
there for a
yeah,
while.
yeah. They are there. It's definitely 1 to 2 months.
Yeah, so I mean, not only is it
Well,
to
they're
show
also-
the characters.
Yeah, they're waiting for the eclipse as well, so they're just waiting for a long time.
Mm.
So yeah.
But not only does it show the characters changing and developing and growing, but it also, kind of illustrates the time passing as well. So
Yeah, because you kind of need that time to pass for then after what I think the next. So there's that, and there's Appa alone, and then it's Aang's hey, we can break into the Earth King's party, or Sokka probably says that actually, but no, well, one of them says let's break into the Earth King's party, and you have to show, like you were saying, Riley, that time has passed.
So make sure it's up first before pressing down.
You have to show that time has passed to warrant that drastic action of we're gonna break into a dignitary's house, you know.
Like not like let's just go do like fucking
It's we got
push
here.
the lever up to 12.
We got here. He didn't want to see us. Oh well, we're gonna break in. It's like okay, well, it makes a little more sense if you have them wait a little while. You have the audience wait like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
That's what I love. That's why Avatar is still one of my favorite shows because no matter every single filler episode, even the fucking play, every single filler episode, there wasn't a single episode that didn't have character development in it.
Honestly, the most filler episodes there are probably just season 1. There's an argument that season 1 is the filler episode.
Giant filler.
There's like an argument. Not an argument, but like be a good joke. Is there any filler episodes in Avatar? Season 1.
Yeah, seasons 1, episodes 2 through like 17.
Season 1. No, just season 1.
Except for the finale, like the last 2 episodes.
I mean, I told y'all where I started rewatching, so.
Have you rewatched the last? Have you rewatched the like the battle of like the North? What is those?
The Battle of the North
Dude,
Pole.
I'm not the one to be asking about.
But yeah, no, I didn't rewatch it. I probably should though. But I mean, I watched that so many times as a kid to begin with. I know what happens.
Yeah. It
That's
is
the
really
other thing,
good. It is really good.
Like I was saying to him on the phone, we're like, even I who had never seen book 1 from start to finish, like in order, like I saw like every one of those episodes at some point.
Yeah.
And like I knew the basic beats, where like he learns about the spirit world and like, you know, all the basic small stuff, and then I remembered the end because it was so memorable.
Yeah.
So you know, that's maybe not the best way to experience it, but it's definitely. I can definitely understand that.
In a lot of ways, that's how I experienced it as a kid, because I didn't watch it. I was not into Avatar when it first came out. I didn't get into it till like middle of book 2, from watching reruns. So I watched like a lot of book 1, all of book 1, and like half of book 2, out of order, and it'd be like a couple of years, like a year after Avatar was done, and I was still watching them. I was like, oh, that's the order these episodes are supposed to go in. Like, okay.
When there was like a marathon or something.
Yeah, because like the one channel like on like basic cable when we were kids would start with like episode 1 of Avatar, play it for like 2 hours, and then the next day, so that's like 4 episodes, and then the next day like play it for another 2 hours.
5 to 8,
yeah,
whatever.
And you would it would play in order.
Yeah.
From like however many weeks it took to finish it, over you watching it 2 hours a day, and so I would like tune in, not necessarily. It was like at the same time I was like eating dinner or whatever the hell, but like you would like be able to realize, okay, I've seen this one, don't really have to pay attention, but this is the order they actually go in. Mm-hmm. It's obviously a much easier now that it's on Netflix, but
yeah.
So
book 2
is really good.
So like the first quarter of book 2 is
more filler, basically.
Yeah, more of book 1.
Yeah, more book 1 stuff.
Oh wait.
And then
before Toph.
Yeah, the first quarter, basically, more or less the first quarter. And then the rest of the season is like, all right, we're hitting the gas. It is
all gas, no brakes.
Yeah,
an excellent
like,
YouTube channel
like,
if you.
It goes 0 to yeah. So basically, as of now, shows at like 50 at like a 50 miles per hour. End of book 1, we went from 50 to 100, and then we went back down to 50, debatably like behind 50, and then like Toph gets introduced, Zuko alone, and we're at like above 100. Like we're
from there it's all plot.
And you don't slow down. If anything, you get faster and faster and faster.
Because after Zuko alone, it's the chase where they're all tired the whole time.
Which is such a good episode.
As a kid, I couldn't relate to that because I'd never been like super tired, like that tired, like
and
not slept on.
And being forced to keep
going. As a grown up, I related to that one a lot more. Like I definitely been in that situation. Not well, someone wasn't chasing me, but I definitely didn't sleep for a few days. Yeah.
Real quick before I forget, I love. Well, like, the show has such an obsession with, like, the hybrid animals where it's like the platypus bear or like, whatever, and then just like I was like, this
The
is so silly,
penguins?
it's so dumb.
Well, the penguins are hybrids, but they still are called penguins.
What are they hybrids with?
Hmm?
Wait,
Or I guess are they just
They just have 4
Are they
arms.
just 4 arms?
I
I
Yeah.
thought they were. No, because aren't they also like seals?
the
Turtle.
seals are with turtles, dude.
Oh yeah,
The
you're
turtles
right.
are with a few things actually, because there's like
Yeah.
tiger turtle or whatever at the end.
That's
the
different.
big
That's something else. though.
Torterra from
The lion
Pokemon,
turtle.
Pokemon Detective Pikachu. That's what that reminds. I mean, obviously Detective Pikachu came way after this show, but that's what I reminded me of. Was like, oh well, shit, Detective Pikachu didn't even do that first. So, but they have this such. I was like, this is so dumb. Like, just like, why does everything have to be a hybrid animal? And then like, the party. The Earth King party was for the new bear, and then they were like, "Oh, so like a platypus bear?" No, it says bear.
Oh yeah.
Dude, it's such a good, it's such a
like
good joke,
flamingo
dude.
bear or something. And he was like, "Nope, just
Nope,
a bear."
just a bear. And they're all just like.
so weird.
They're like.
Toss like, I hate it here.
This place is so weird.
I guess that a single animal is weird to everybody. Like just like it's just a single.
That's such a fucking meta joke.
That actually is hilarious. I didn't even like think about how meta that joke was. I think that joke went over my head until you
Well, 'cause,
just
No,
said
dude, I
that.
fucking that
even in
shit's
Zuko
funny.
alone, like at the farm, like everything's a hybrid. I'm like, this is so like it didn't bother me that much, but I was just like, why does everything have to be like half of one thing, half of another thing?
No, not gonna lie,
It's kind of like-
as a kid, it bothered me for a while because I was like, how the fuck you breed a fucking seal with a turtle, man? What the fuck? This is like this is like
Unrealistic.
so like suspension of
figured it was
disbelief,
just-
like
I just figured like that was just the natural like
that's
that was the just what the animal was. Like there was no like
there was no theory of evolution.
You know, there was no like inbreeding. It was just
It just
that's how-
evolved
I
that
just,
way.
That's how I
Yeah,
assumed.
yeah.
Just like, oh, well, that's just how it is. But like,
Yeah.
they call it that so the kids don't get confused, or whatever.
That-
But then,
that's what
but
I
then
thought.
they introduce
The bear.
The bear. And it's like,
Also-
okay, well, this raises a lot of questions.
I
actually.
never even thought about that.
But like, okay, well now there's regular animals, but they're so rare that like they don't even barely exist anymore because everything's inbred and a hybrid.
Dude, my mind is like now my mind is going
Dude,
are they inbred? Now? Like,
Well, it wouldn't be inbred,
Well,
Peyton.
yeah,
They would be
inbred's
crossbred.
not inbred.
yeah, crossbred.
You want to talk about inbred? Let's talk about the swamp episode. So, like, dude, I love the
The swamp, that was at the beginning of book 2, right?
yeah.
Okay.
I love the like things where it's like what the different cultures in Avatar are based off of. Earth Kingdom, China, Japan or Fire Nation, Japan, Water Tribe, North American natives, fucking what's the other one? Airbenders. That's the Tibetan monks, then the swamp people. Florida, Louisiana. Swamp people.
to scare people away.
That episode is so ridiculous, and then the fact that they come back at the end, like I love it.
Yeah, they do come back at the
Like
end.
the only American, the only like they have the country like American accent. It's
Yeah, you're right.
funny as hell. Like it's like this is so out of place, but I love it.
It's funny because like because what they show up to the fire invasion and he's like, bro, there's so much seaweed. Like he's like, bro, like I didn't think there'd be that much seaweed in the sea or like something like
So I
that.
was communing with nature.
Yeah.
It takes a while to build up all this seaweed.
He's like the last one to show up.
Yeah. Hey, you. He's like, whoa. He's like, hey, two. What kind of Fire Nation thing do you think that is? That's a rock.
That's wrong.
What does he say? He's like, something is an illusion, just like pants. Or
Yeah.
time is an illusion, and so are pants. Dude, should I get that that quote as like a
Time to get my gun.
should I get that quote as like a side tat, like time is illusion and so
So
are
are
pants.
pants.
Yeah.
No, use that as your next pickup line.
Hey,
For-
dude, next
for-
next girl I match with on Tinder.
Yeah, just be
Yeah.
like, yo, hey, I don't want to get deep too fast, but
Time is
time is
illusion.
an illusion.
So are
So
pants.
Just like pants is probably a better way to say it. I don't know if that's the actual quote. I don't remember.
I think it is pants. 'Cause they
No,
don't
it
wear
is pants. I don't.
Well, the way time is an illusion, just like pants. Like
Oh,
if
I-
we already, if pants is an illusion, that's already a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
You know?
I will ascertain the verbatim quote and make sure that's what I use whenever I poorly attempt to hit on girls.
The other thing I like about book 2 is the ending conflict is built up really well. Like it's like all the characters are like coming together to come into this conflict, but it's a lot smaller scale than book 1's climax. Because
Yeah, they narrow it down because it's all hidden. Everything is hidden.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the big climactic fight is actually in the beginning.
The
of
crazy
the-
part
of the
of
season.
book 2, there's like 3 climactic fights back to back. There's like fighting the Dai Li, then there's like storming the Earth King's palace, and then there's fucking the night. There's the night of there's the night of the long knives where the Dai Li take out all the Earth Kingdom generals, but that's
yeah, but it's
a
not like solved by a
montage.
big fuck you like.
Yeah, and then there's
Like-
fighting Azula.
Like it's
Well,
not
they
like a
lose.
giant army of like battleships versus a giant like Avatar like fish god. You know, like.
Which
there's a
actually
lot-
they make fun of that in book 1. They're like, well, can't you just summon like a giant monster and kill everybody? And they're just like, that's not how the Avatar state works. And then that's actually how
how it ends up working.
how it ends up working.
But if he had turned into like a giant like fish or like rock monster at the end of every book, that would
No,
been,
no, no, no,
or
no, I'm
every
just
that would
saying,
just been
like,
terrible.
It would have been terrible.
Like,
Well, that's why
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
why
because
it's
the
so
other thing
good.
is like how are we gonna really top that while still like leaving room for like the climax of the actual show? You know?
Because you know
Yeah.
that's gonna be a huge climactic fight.
Yeah, like that's already been like
Done.
from episode like 1. That's still like okay, they have to fight the Fire Lord before like the comet comes or whatever. So like that's like obviously like going to be the climax of the entire show. So you know that's you've been looking forward to that like the entire time you're watching the show basically. You know?
Yeah.
At least it's in the back of your mind.
Yeah. Well, they pull. It's also good because it's actually crazy to think how much of a Empire Strikes Back that book 2 pulls. Like they lose.
Well, I mean yes, that's also just traditional narrative structure.
I mean, yes, but for a kids show, it's really ballsy to do something like that.
I mean,
Because like people weren't expecting that from
Well,
people weren't expecting that
the way
from
Zuko's
Star
set up
Wars.
is like
Yeah.
you're obviously like especially okay so knowing
You don't know Zuko's
Yeah,
gonna do
knowing-
what he does.
No,
I
you
haven't
don't.
seen-
You don't. Which is, I mean, I'm not debating whether it's good, but I am saying is that like the second act of any 3-act structure is all
it's
like
they lose and have to rebuild
yeah. There's the dark night of the soul. It ends.
Yeah,
It ends badly, or there's like the midpoint. The midpoint is either have like end of Act 2, which is the low point, or the midpoint is really low. or
I
both.
understand that. I'm just saying, like, most like things that are based around kids, even Star Wars, right? I include Star Wars in that. Nobody was expecting how dark Empire Strikes Back was gonna be. Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, fair.
that's how I see the ending of Book 2 from Avatar. It's like it gets fucking dark. Like you literally think Aang actually might be dead.
hmm
Like there's an actual possibility because Jet just dies like a couple of episodes prior. So it's like Aang literally could have fucking died. Like nobody has been
I mean,
attacked
it's
by
implied
lightning.
that he basically did die.
It is actually no, you're right. It is implied that he did die, and that like
But-
the only
well,
reason why he
basically,
lived
so
was
knowing-
the water.
As kind of an osmosis viewer, I knew that Zuko would end up being like the fire sensei, basically. And having not seen the end of book 2, I had assumed that was going to be like the hero moment where like, he comes over and like helps them like at least push back and like help them escape, versus Azula.
Oh yeah, and he doesn't.
And he doesn't. Yeah, he like
He
stays
doesn't.
with the Fire Nation. I was like, I mean, that kind of actually like took me out of left field. That was like not what I was expecting at all.
Dude, it's
Now,
okay,
that was-
which is good. The
Yeah,
fact that it
was
still does
partially
that
set up by
after.
my partial knowledge of the future, but still, like, I mean, the narrative like structure is set up for his like redemption, basically, right there. Where like,
It is.
Yeah,
It actually is. And
because like they pull the whole like, oh, he's like sick because he has a inner conflict going on. He's like legit like has a cold, and then like, he's like settling into his life as a commoner in Ba Sing Se, and then he has the talk with Kitaro, with the about the mothers, and she's gonna use the water on his scar, and then it gets interrupted. So like it's like totally set up, for you to be expecting that anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I thought that was like, I mean, like you said, it's not like the first time that's ever been done.
No.
by any means, but it's well done.
But I mean, like, yeah, it is well done. Which is the fact that it surprised you years later, after like, a million spoilers about the show have been had, and you already knew Zuko was going to become his like fire master. The fact that it still was that big of a twist years later is a testament to how fucking well written it is.
Yeah, it definitely is. Back to Tales of Ba Sing Se. I wanted to bring up Tales of Ba Sing Se simply because of, I mean, the final. Is it the final scene? Like the final clip show was Iroh? Was that the final?
No,
The
there's
one is like Momo, isn't it?
Iroh's like in the middle.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I forgot when
The
it
final
was.
one, like the final long one, is Zuko, I think, right?
I forget.
I don't remember the order. Iroh's not the beginning and he's not the ending. I think the
Okay.
beginning is Toph and Katara
Yeah.
going to like the beauty
Well,
shop.
which ones it is, it doesn't matter. I thought Iroh was the end, but it doesn't matter when it was. That specific one is so I don't know, is so incredibly touching and sad, and like knowing the history behind it makes it even worse. Like,
Yeah.
Like, because like that filler episode almost might have been a like, well, it was like it was all based upon the actor, so it's almost like they didn't intend to have that episode and they just like decided to do that episode. Yet they still made sense of it. I want to know the history behind the making of that episode, if like it entirely was based around like in honor of the actor.
Like, what
or
came
not.
first, the chicken or the egg? Was it like, oh, we're gonna make Iroh's story super sad because Mako died, or Mako died and this episode also happens to be super sad, so we're gonna put in honor of Mako at the end.
Yeah.
Which
like,
I would.
Well, no, they didn't put it in honor of Mako at the end. They put it at the end of his.
Yeah, that's what I
his
meant.
split. Oh, okay.
Which I would be inclined to assume the latter, because if you think about, like, it's a series, he recorded all of season 2 before he died,
Mhm.
which so like it's not like they plan. So if he recorded all of season 2 before he died,
Oh,
then
okay.
it would
episode
make
would have
sense.
already been made.
The episode would have been written the way it was,
Right, you're right.
irrelevant of his untimely death.
Yes. Okay, yeah, you're right.
But it is It's convenient in a weird serendipitous, like, fate. That like his character had a very sad scene, like very like
Yeah.
honor filled, like fucking funeral, like
And it happened
mourning his
both,
son.
like, the episode aired after he died.
For those who don't know, you should all know this by now.
Matt didn't know.
But
Matt didn't know.
that's which is why I'm saying, because apparently some people do not. The dude, his name was Mako, and if you go on IMDb, that's all he goes by. Obviously, he has a full name, but that's what he's known as on IMDb, and that's what he's credited as. I'm pretty sure. I think he's credited as just Mako. I think so. Dude who had like a ton of acting very renowned actor. A lot of acting roles. I think he won an Oscar like when he was like 20, like when he was young. Um,
And then, well, the other big thing that mostly everybody our age would probably know him by is he plays the main villain in Samurai Jack. That's like the most notable one. Most people that have watched that show like already recognize his voice when watching Avatar. It's like his voice is pretty much the exact same, so it's like except instead of like talking in an evil way, he talks as like an old man, but the voice sounds exactly the same. So like that's like the most notable one that like people our age would know him from.
but anyways,
So.
he died after filming season 2, and so that's
like, not
why.
in season 3, like almost at all.
Yeah, oh, he didn't do any of season 3. I don't think.
He
They
didn't do
Well, like
anything,
the
but
character
his
is not in
character is-
season 3 almost at all.
Well, yes, that's why Iroh doesn't speak for most of season 3. That's why. That's part of the reason when Zuko goes to the prison, Iroh just stares, like doesn't talk to him. It's like his voice was literally taken away, And they obviously got a new voice actor who tried to sound as much like Mako as possible to
Well, he
finish the
doesn't even, like,
series.
speak. I mean, he speaks a little bit.
He
to, like,
says
the
a
girl, I
few.
think,
He says a
but like he
few
doesn't have any like
lines.
actual like expansive like
Mon-
lines or
yeah.
like, any back and forth until like the very end of
Yeah.
the book, basically.
And
Well,
it's
the very end of
in
the book, and right before Zuko leaves the Fire Nation.
yeah.
Because he says a decent amount of lines to Zuko, but not too many. Even in the final like the climax or the finale, he doesn't speak too much.
But
he says a couple
that's
lines.
that's awesome that the showrunners and the writers were like dedicated to honoring the actor like that.
And as you should. I mean, what the character stood for, probably.
Yeah.
Like, not only. I mean, obviously, not obviously, but like, Mako probably stood for a lot what Iroh probably stood for. Like, you wouldn't have so much an honoring of him, and like, I mean, you would, but like, I don't know. They seem to care a lot about it. I wouldn't be surprised if Mako had some of the
I
same
mean,
feelings.
he was an old man, so old man vibes, I guess.
Old man vibes. True. I've seen everything by now, so.
But yeah, I mean that's like more or less the ending of book 2.
Oh, you know what it probably was? The reason why I probably thought it was the ending of the show was because it probably was that was probably the clip before the commercial break. That's probably
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I thought
It
that.
is Momo. Momo is the last
I might
one.
be wrong, but I seem to remember that.
Yeah, it probably is the thing. It's probably the clip show.
Because I remember, I think it's like Zuko with like the random girl that like he like goes on a date or whatever, and then I think Momo is the last one where like
It definitely is Momo because Momo lands in like Appa's like footprint, and then the episode that aired immediately after that was Appa alone. So it's like ties the two together.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So, all right. So
Season 3.
Season 3. Season 3 is a dark season.
Season 3. I remember as a kid that shit had everybody on the edge of their seat because like the ending of season 2 was so crazy.
Well, it also like they really did. If I remember correctly, they really did make it seem like in the terms of like airing, they really did make it seem like that the invasion was the season finale. Like they built it up. It's a multi-part episode. They premiered it like a movie as well.
The first invasion episode is chapter 10, which like that's kind of weird because like normally it would like end on a chapter 10 or a chapter 20 or whatever.
Yeah. So, but they
it's
build
like
it
chapter
up.
10 and 11 is like are the 2 episodes of the invasion.
Yeah.
With the eclipse.
But they do build it up to like almost, or at least when it first aired, because I remember a lot of the airing of book 3 when it originally came out. I was talking to you about it, but book how they aired it really they really did with the advertisements, they were, the movie like airing of it. They really did make it seem like it was the season finale, the series finale, and then it ended up not being it.
Mhm.
So great part on like the writers and the
Well,
advertisers
I will say
and
they didn't like they still left, even for like kids, they still left like breadcrumbs. Like obviously, like I don't think he had done any firebending at that point aside from like the one episode in book one. Um, no, no, well that's not right. He definitely hadn't like he hadn't like even gotten to like a sufficient point. Basically, is what I'm trying to say.
no, because
For
he doesn't do
firebending.
any training because he doesn't want to learn firebending.
Right? Yeah.
So like after that episode in book one, because he doesn't want to hurt anybody because he
Right.
thinks firebending
But like
is
even
too
up to that point in
uncontrollable.
book three,
Yeah, he
like-
hadn't learned any firebending.
yeah.
But the whole idea of
So like I mean, basically what I'm trying to say is like there's still it wasn't like a full on like fake out necessarily, but you know what I mean. Like it was reasonably like built up, but it wasn't. They didn't like try to blindside you about it
yeah,
necessarily.
yeah,
So
which is really good. Like I'm really happy.
which
about
that
it.
was one thing I was like at the beginning I was like, oh yeah, an Eclipse like they'll have like fucking like 36 hours of like when they're weakened because
Oh.
of nighttime, and I was like, wait, Eclipse don't last all day. That's stupid. Like so they're gonna have to like do this whole invasion in like 10 minutes. Like what the fuck?
And they actually do.
They
do
actually
It.
well that they end up doing most of the evasion before it. So
Yeah.
is the
Which
thing.
they how they played it off with like, oh yeah, the eclipse only lasts like.
I think
like-
it's like 8 minutes is what they said.
Yeah, the eclipse only lasts like a couple minutes. Is like such a It's such a good idea. Like that's such a good idea. Like instead of having it be like an entire like hours or an entire day, it's like literally like, oh no, because like it's only for when the sun is completely covered. As soon as the sun can be seen again, they get their firebending.
Oh,
back.
the other-
It's like,
So,
oh,
I mean,
it's
it's-
like that is so.
The other
It's
small
not
trick
that
before I
it's
forget,
just
the
an
other-
idea.
The other thing about them kind of not going like into full blindside mode about like this is the end of the series is they have that big like day-long war meeting with the fire lord, like the fire like the warlords or whatever,
Mhm.
like everybody, and they don't really like draw like a huge amount of attention to it because it's kind of like a plot point with like Zuko and his girlfriend or whatever were like he's like I didn't get invited, so I'm like angsty now. So like it's not like they didn't draw like, oh well this is the they didn't say like, oh this is the war council to prepare to defend the eclipse, like it was just like, oh this is the war council and it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
But
That's
like
true.
you have to kind of be like at least a reasonably like you have to kind of reasonably kind of deduce that, oh well that's because they already know from like at this point it's like 10 episodes ago that they know that they overheard that they're gonna try to invade on the eclipse.
Yeah, I mean, Azula,
Well,
like
well, no,
it
that
makes
war meeting- that
complete
war
sense.
meeting
Just
wasn't
nobody thought about it.
That war meeting wasn't about the invasion though.
Right, but
Oh.
well I mean you end up, but they said it was like a full day long, so like that wouldn't necessarily be the only thing they're talking about.
I guess you're okay.
You know what I
I
mean?
guess that's true.
Because like they show later on at the near the end where Zuko
It's
was like,
it's literally like the intro to the final movie.
oh is it? Well,
Yeah, it's
okay.
like
But basically, he's this is our plan to like just wipe out the Earth Nation.
yeah,
But I mean, that was like what 15 seconds?
yeah.
Like a minute.
Yeah, that was like just
So I mean, that was obviously not necessarily
the whole thing.
they didn't try to convey that would be the only thing that they would be talking about. I thought at least.
Okay, so but anyway, so the episodes prior to the invasion. Let's go through season 3 as a whole. So we have my favorite part, well, I guess not my favorite part, but like I love how Sokka finally gets dedicated to a like a master. Like he gets a master and he learns how to fight properly. He does just based upon his experiences, he learns how to fight, like he learns how to better his fighting skills, but he never really has a teacher, and he finally gets that. And I love that. And he doesn't just do that by, and then he ends up making a sword, and it's a completely unique sword dedicated to him, almost like it's his bending, right? Which I love. I actually love that.
The sword episode is great. I mean,
It's not like amazing by any means,
the criticism that he's like he learns that skill way too quick is completely valid.
Yeah,
but it's still a well done episode.
It is a very well done episode. He shouldn't just learn how to fight.
I do think
but he
trope where they're in the Fire Nation and then like they like befriend somebody and then it's like, oh my gosh, you knew we weren't Fire Nation the whole time, and then like, oh yes, but I'm an honorable person, so like I don't care, and it's like that happens like 6 times or something.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot.
So
yeah,
like with like the lady who does the bloodbending, the sword guy.
Well, the bloodbending thing is different though.
Well, I mean
that is sheer luck, but
yeah,
like.
But I mean, before, because like she knows that they're from the Water Tribe, but like she's also from the Water Tribe, so she's not like gonna turn them in or whatever.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Like that one is at least justified. Him, it's not. Him is just like, wait, what? Like, are you serious?
Dude, he's the Order of the White Lotus, bro.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's just sheer luck. Like,
yeah.
What? Like,
or like the
Dude,
I
was
on the river.
I was pissed at Sokka when he said that, when he snitched. He's like, dude, I'm actually from the Water Tribe, and I was like, dude, you fucking idiot, you're too smart for this. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
There's a couple of things
I
that
thought it kind of
don't
fit
make
because
sense,
he was very. He kind of like knew. As a developed character from over like 50 episodes, he knew that being like rash and like crazy when the guy told him, okay, well, what did you bring to show your skill? And he's like, well, fucking nothing, because like I didn't realize. So like he knew like that he would have to be humble and like and not try to like show himself up because he doesn't have anything to show.
Yeah.
So like I think that kind of fit in line with his attitude there, where like. I mean, not necessarily that was like the best idea.
Yeah.
But that he like felt guilty about like
him being the plan maker for the invasion. Like,
I mean, I guess emotionally, like emotional beats of a story, it felt right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you're talking about a character whose defining trait is comedy.
With a sword.
Well, comedy and brain power are his defining traits.
Oh, I thought you meant the other guy.
And he's gonna like slip up like that, you know what I mean? But
towards somebody who's obviously a very high-ranking
person in the feudal society,
Fire Nation,
yeah,
who obviously has sword skills and is probably a really smart
and probably
person
served
as well.
in the Fire Nation military at some point.
Yeah,
and he's old.
So he didn't.
He obviously
the
knows.
way he slipped up was he used his real name. That was like.
Very
Water Tribe like.
Yeah.
Like very.
Foreign.
Yeah, so like I mean he comes out and tells him, I'm from the Water Tribe.
Yeah.
Like intentionally, like that's not a slip up.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying him doing it intentionally is a slip up, as in it was a bad idea.
I mean, potentially, but.
Yeah. Poor judgment.
Okay. What about so almost like a lot of people
I didn't have a huge issue with it personally.
A lot of people have their own there's a lot of people that have their own episodes in season 3. Like Katara has her personal dilemma episode. Actually, she has a couple. She has the bloodbending episode, or at least before the invasion. I'm talking about before the invasion, at least. After the invasion, there's even more. But before the invasion, Katara has the bloodbending episode, but also she has the town episode. And
then of course after her little adventure with Zuko.
Yeah, but
we're
talking about we're talking about
before
before the invasion.
I mean, I think they also kind of realized that they had First of all, I don't really like the Painted Lady episode. It's like
Yeah, to me that's probably one of the only episodes after after the after the first quarter of season 2, it goes back to the original formula.
yeah,
basically.
it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's not like great.
There's
It's
no
not.
stakes really
Yeah,
It's
you-
just a random town
until like
episode
the
where-
very end where they're like, oh well, somebody literally destroyed our shit, so we're gonna like
yeah.
retaliate, you know.
And at the end of it, where Sokka's like, "Great, you blew up this factory. Now more people are gonna come and they're gonna fuck these people over more. What the fuck were you thinking?"
And then they
I-
literally start going.
I straight up, I was like, dude,
Tell him something.
oh, like, dude,
He's like, tell him
so like I relate to this so much right now. Like,
you were like, yo, tell him something.
Like,
Go
like-
off. And then they
this is
literally
what
start
happens when
attacking.
people act without thinking. Like,
Yeah, and then they literally start attacking us like as soon as he says that.
like, I mean, it's not a poorly written episode or anything. You're right. It's going back to the old episodic format whenever they had already established like this show is so much more and is like very dynamic and has a much more dynamic plot.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, this is like a one-off thing that like doesn't really matter, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
They have that episode where like it's like the beach episode, but for the villains.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, that episode's great.
See,
That
I
episode's
like that
actually amazing.
episode.
That episode's actually amazing.
what did
Okay.
you say?
I like that episode.
All right, yeah, but I mean,
Well,
it's
that has one of the most emotional scenes with Zuko, and it's
Yeah.
just a scene.
That-
it's just
that's-
that
short
scene
little
kind of makes that
scene.
whole episode for me.
Oh, it makes it for me, like especially with like, I actually feel like as like at least before I graduated, like looking back on that episode, like rape, like you know about this, like at Zach's
Oh, yeah,
New Year's Eve, like bro, that's exactly how I felt.
Dude, Zuko
Like-
has a stoop
like-
talk.
Like, oh, that is, he has a stoop talk. Yo, clip that stoop talk with the boys.
Yeah, dude.
I hate myself. like that's stoop talk with the boys. Like that's what ends up happening.
Can we talk about how like the opening of that episode? Actually, you know, never mind.
No, go.
The scene with the grandma, the
Everybody-
old ladies, the mentors, that little sequence right there at the beginning of the episode when they get into their bathing suits.
Oh
let's say.
no, they reveal.
That was,
themselves. They reveal themselves.
As a
And then, like,
kid,
she covers his eyes.
yeah, that was funny.
That was a good.
But like
yeah.
as a kid, I remember being like, I'm watching this with my mom.
Well,
And as
you're
a grown up,
watching this with your mom, and then literally right after that, they actually have like, bro, they pull the anime trope. It's not blatantly obvious, but there's like what's her name actually has like a boob jiggle as they're walking along the beach, and it's like, wait a second, what the fuck? They're 14. like why are these characters like you actually put boob physics? Like what the fuck?
I mean, I'm not going to defend it, but it's obvious they knew like that they were playing into that joke. Like they were making a joke out of the
Yeah.
trope.
I mean, the beach episode is like
But it
one
is
of
an
the most
anime
famous
trope.
anime tropes of all time. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like it's just or the pool episode. You know, anything to get the girls in bathing suits.
Yeah, it's like
Basically.
one of the most.
But even with a tropey filler episode, a tropey
It's
pervy
important for Zuko,
filler
yeah.
episode, they still had character development because the writing is that good.
Yeah.
Dude, not gonna lie, whenever I watched that episode, like, cause Azu was like, my own mom thought I was a monster. I like seriously thought that she was gonna like have like a switch, like she could like maybe I'm like, they're gonna make her switch sides. I'm like, maybe that might not work. Like I don't know if they can make her switch sides or not. Like that's like what
Well,
they're
they
like.
do play off of that. in
Like
the
she could be
end.
good because she's really nice to Zuko in season 3, but then at the end you're just like,
Azula.
no, oh, she's nicer, I
Well,
guess.
they play off of that comment though.
Yeah.
At the end, like she obviously does have attachment to that comment, but she hides it so much, and then it ends up being like her downfall as a like her insanity.
Dude, what stuck with me about the beach episode is just like all the dudes, like following Tylee around like all the Sims. I just thought that was
All
funny
the
as fuck.
Sims
I just
for
thought that
Tylee.
they're like she's like
Dude,
making him
you know
fan her
exactly
and
what
block the
kind of
sun.
girl
Like
you know exactly what kind of girl Tylee is. Like you know,
oh yeah,
like you know that
oh yeah.
like who that girl is in real life. Like, come on.
That's why I thought it was funny as fuck.
Well, yeah, it is funny as fuck, especially like when you're older, because you're like, I know that girl, and I also know those dudes.
The Sim Squad.
The Sim Squad. I brought you some ice cream. Here, I'm holding your
Your elves
fan.
literally
Like,
stand to block the sun.
to block the sun.
And then get mad when she like accepts some like the whatever.
The conch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
From the other guy. He's like, no, I was standing in the making shade for her first.
And then she's like, oh here, shade.
Dude, she's like, oh, I joined the circus so I wouldn't be viewed as a set with all my sisters, so I could be my own person, so I wouldn't be viewed as a match set. And Zuko claps back. Or is it Zuko or is it May?
It's one of them.
May
It's
claps
one of
back
them.
and
It's
she's
one
like,
of them.
she's like, I guess that's why you need 15 boyfriends
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Dude, I
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
lost my shit when they said that. That was funny as fuck.
Dude, May has the best comebacks ever.
Dude,
Like,
so it's always super unexpected too.
yeah. Well, cause like it's so funny because like she's supposed to be the goth girl and she is, but she doesn't. But like most goth girls don't like have the clapbacks that she does. Like she in TV shows.
Yes.
Like most of them just make a sarcastic comment. She makes like
or they say they're bored or something.
yeah,
I'm bored.
which she does joke around with that,
It's
but like
this is
her
so
main
boring.
her main traits are the clapbacks actually, because she always has like
Yeah.
comebacks to everybody.
That's why
Like-
you need 15 boyfriends too. Like, I'm sorry. To me, that line resonated with me more than like, that's rough, buddy.
Who's that with?
That's rough, buddy. That's like,
no. You said that line
like resonated like as in like it stuck in my mind as it
Oh.
was more like memorable. I guess
Yeah.
resonated
I
was the
didn't
wrong
think-
word.
What is it, May?
Yeah.
I didn't think she was like a super, even really like good character.
Oh,
until
she's-
book 3.
She
Yeah.
very stock character for sure.
Mhm.
She
Well, like,
is.
I mean, she was
she's-
basically like almost
just a
not a
goth
character
character.
until book 3. Like, is what
Yeah.
I'm say.
I mean, so is Ty Lee.
I mean-
Ty Lee isn't really a character either. They're just sort of like.
I mean, she had at least a little more personality to her and a little more like, cause she went after like I don't know.
Well, yeah, she always went
Not
after
that she was
Sokka.
like the best character in the show or anything up to that point either.
But she's very flamboyant as her personality, but for some reason, well, not for some reason, I mean like, bro, Sokka gets all the. Sokka's everybody has bending skills, right? But Sokka, they say, doesn't have any bending skills, but we all know that Sokka's the backbender. Alright, hey, we all know Sokka's the
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, we all know it. We all know it. Like, bro, he didn't do anything.
I wasn't gonna say it like that, but okay.
yo, we all know it. Dude, Ty Lee just goes after him. Like, he literally is just standing there, and Ty Lee's like, yo, hey.
Dude, that was like one of the best like running gags in the show, though.
Ty Lee, like,
no,
going
just
after
Sokka
him.
getting like mad chicks.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Well, I mean, he's the oldest one too.
Well,
like,
because season one, he always like wants to, but he doesn't until he gets with the princess. And then after he like starts to
Well,
like
what's
flirt
her
with-
name? What's her name? Kind of like was interested in him.
Suki.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah, she does. Suki does
she's
show up
introduced first, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. She is introduced first.
And he has like a thing with her, like a little like fling or whatever you want to call it. But then he's like, dude, let me smooch, let me kiss
He's like,
the
let
moon.
me get that royal pussy. Like,
Dude, like
like
that.
upgrade.
I'm just a peasant. I'm just a peasant, but like, imagine like.
Dude,
Perks?
I remember watching that, and they're like, "Oh, my daughter is now of marrying age." Like when they're talking about the princess, right? And they like they show her, and then they like pan to Sokka, and he's like, I'm just like, oh god. Like I'm watching, like, oh god, this is weird. I'm watching this with my mom.
Okay.
Like,
Before I was thinking, so at the first episode of book 3, because book 2 kind of like it's like a kind of a cliffhanger, like, and then like it jumps into book 3 where like Aang wakes up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
how long is he asleep?
They said weeks, I think.
You were
Yeah,
asleep
yeah.
for weeks. Yeah, they never specify.
Yeah, they don't. It's just been
Katara's
like,
just like,
So
you've been asleep for weeks, dude.
they probably lost track of time because they were like,
It was easier for the writers to just say weeks.
Yeah.
Than like
Unspecified
have
amount of
people
time.
fucking fact check them. Like, oh well, how long is it to? Well, we know Citizen's Common is 6 months away, so how long could it? Some Reddit fuck would have done that.
Just so they don't pigeonhole themselves into a plot.
a plot hole. They're just like, it's
So
been a couple
I
weeks.
do kind of
It's been a
have
couple weeks.
I can appreciate the way that episode starts with like we're watching it from Aang's perspective, where like we have no context for what's happened when he's asleep, basically. And then we kind of like find out as he finds out. But I do kind of have a problem with the way that's kind of resolved, because it ends up being resolved by the end of the episode, basically, where like he just kind of like fucks off, like while he's like still like really hurt, and like clearly shouldn't be doing anything, and by like flying off of the boat, and then like they just like end up on like the fire like island with like everybody, because like the group follows them, but not like Sokka and Kitara's dad and like everybody else.
Yeah.
So like I want to make clear this isn't like a huge issue I have with the show or anything, but like that was kind of like, okay, well like Aang just like kind of fucked off, and then like now we're at like the place we need to be at for like book 3, basically, because of that. So
Yes.
when like he clearly shouldn't have fucked off, and like he's like clearly hurt, and like I get he was like emotionally unstable or whatever, but
So
it's
Aang,
like a really bad decision to just like run off into a storm.
running away, like, yeah, okay, bad decision, bad idea, Chief.
But it's a good.
But I well, it
it's
made
a-
sense for
it's
the
a good
character.
reaction.
So okay,
It
so
made sense for the character because that's what he does.
I have a problem with, first off, that decision being so incredibly bad, and then leading into exactly, essentially where they need to be going.
Yeah, the second part I have is more of the
Yeah.
issue that I have
Like
more
I think
problems with.
one would be fine for me, but like a really bad decision leading exactly where they need to be going is like seems really contrived to me.
Yes. So
That
like
is
Aang
the
running
second
away is like that's kind of his thing. Like he literally ran away for 100 years. That I can accept. What confused me as a kid and confused me like even now rewatching it as an adult was like, okay, so you have this boat, you have a fucking boat, but all of the main characters are just gonna fuck off and fly around on an extinct animal in enemy
in enemy
territory for like 10 episodes.
Mhm.
And the explanation of why they split up from the main crew or from the rest of their allies was just it didn't really make sense. Like why? Do you guys remember why? Like why did
Well, it's because
the
like
main
Aang fucked off by himself, and then they like went to follow him.
and they're like,
to make
oh,
sure he's okay and like to save him if he needed saving, and then they were like on the fire like land, so they just like didn't go back, and they like just went forward
instead of
going back to the ship.
relinking with the ship.
Yeah, it's like they were already there.
I mean,
So like that's kind of the issue I have.
Yeah.
Where like it seems like it's like in line with Aang's character to an extent, but like it seems very like, okay, well like we're just gonna have him like fly away to get him away from the ship where everybody's at, even though we like just introduced this whole thing.
so what confused me was like, why would they not just go back, try and find the ship?
Mhm.
I guess. But when you think about that, like logistically speaking, it's like how it's a ship. We don't have cell phones. How long are we gonna be fucking flying around over the ocean looking for a ship, like some random ass ship that we don't know if it's actually our guys or not because they're in disguise.
Oh yeah.
So it's a Fire Nation ship.
Which the other
And-
thing was that wasn't necessarily going to be entirely safe either, because they knew,
Yeah.
like they got found out and like had to take out the other ship. So like,
Yeah.
I mean I get that to an extent too, but it's just like
It does feel contrived,
Yeah.
but for a show of that like magnitude at the time, it's I understand why they did it, and I don't say give them a pass, but like as far as like as far as like how do we set this up so it's the main like team of four, the main crew, four main characters doing what they do on their own in the wilderness, solving problems, like going town to town solving problems, like the whole series has been away from Katara's dad and away from like adults that would stifle them, which is like part of the show. How they solved it is like I don't say it's the best way they could have solved it, but it's like it's still pretty like they were kind of in like a fucked from a writing standpoint. They're kind of fucked.
But like another problem I have with that was like they put themselves into that position in that episode already. Like we're like okay, well like
True.
they're with everybody now, but like now we want to in the same episode get them away from everybody. So
yeah.
Like I can appreciate the idea of having them like that kind of reveal with Aang and having the viewer go through and find out what's going on and like why the fuck does he have hair now and all this shit.
Yeah.
But, like I feel like they did that for the sake of having this like shock moment, but then they were like, well shit, like we don't want to like have this be book 3, so like we have to get them away from that. So it's just like we want to have this like shock moment at the beginning of book 3, but then we have to like make a really contrived reason for them to like get away from that and not go back.
So what you're saying is
like again, I don't think this is like a death sentence for the show by any means.
Absolutely not.
This is where we're nitpicking.
Yeah, it's like it's one episode.
Yeah.
It's setting up like an arc. You know, it's not like the end of the world or anything, but.
No, that's fair.
That
that's
is
something
that
like
did bother me as I was watching. I was like, okay, well that's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
It's something that like I definitely picked up on watching it, but I didn't like think about it too much until you mentioned it. Like so what you're saying, book 3 instead of like the painted lady and like you know Sokka getting a sword and whatever the fuck, they could have gone around and rounded up the people that are part of the invasion.
If they wanted to continue
or have a better separation,
Yeah.
You know.
I just think if they wanted to have this thing where it was like the 4 of them on Appa again, like you said, going through enemy lines, you know, living off the wilderness without the adults, like why put them in a situation where like, oh, we're like back with the adults and like we have this nice reunion with the adults and like to like set this up and like have to make a contrived reason for them to not to stay there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's kind of my main issue. Where like.
Because it very easily could have been
like,
something
very easily
like.
could have just like not had that part.
Yeah, they could have
had
come
a different way for them to.
Like some other reason, like Katara and Sokka's dad is like rounding everybody up, and Aang and the Aang gang can like has to go through the Fire Nation because they want that whole behind enemy lines thing, which is cool. And like I don't know, give them some other like side quest objective of things they're trying to obtain from the Fire Nation.
Yeah.
Like certain materials or like plans about the Fire Nation, information, yeah.
Information would have been a great thing to do.
Yeah, information about like various battlements
thing
that they're trying to obtain.
Where like I like the invasion scene is great, but the one thing that kind of brought up in my mind was like, okay, well like, how do they know this was how all this was set up? They had a map, but like, I mean, they could have had other documents detailing like, you know, how shit was set up, but like,
I mean,
they never go into that. So like, that's one thing they could have. They're like, okay, well, we need information on like capital city.
On their defense,
on
their defenses.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
could have used that.
How they got the information, I can suspend my disbelief. Like maybe it was on that Fire Nation ship.
Yeah,
but we're not
the
talking
Fire
about
Nation,
how they got that.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not
talking
to
about
suspend
how.
my disbelief too, but like that's something that they could have.
You're
definitely
right.
done better.
You are, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but like that could have been a focus of like an entire episode even.
But this is.
I mean, honestly, it could have been the focus of several episodes.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
like
right.
Katara's dad is like going around and like rallying the troops from around the world. they're going
Yeah,
and
that basically
and
just
his
happens
dad
off screen.
and his dad says, "Hey, do you mind trying to get all the information you can
yeah,
on the? We know that you guys know how to sneak around. Can you guys try and get all the like as much information on you can on the fire on the like Capitol's defenses?"
yeah.
And that could have all been said, and then they could have sent him out.
Yeah, I mean that would have made
Honestly,
like a much more
that
logical.
aside actually would have been better than having Aang just run away. Like that actually would have been better.
Yeah.
Actually.
Then we need to split up, like, you know, you
For
need to go
a
do this,
reason,
we
like-
need to go do this.
Yeah, like we need to split up for an actual reason instead of just like we
Hank
need to-
fucked off, and then we stayed with him, and like, you know, whatever. So
Yeah.
I mean, nitpicking again, but it's something that I was thinking about when I was watching.
Mm.
So
So we watch.
I like the episode. Now they do kind of use the trope where what's the avatar before Aang's name?
Roku.
Roku. So they do use like
That episode
Roku
is
just
amazing.
like dumps exposition like trope. They do that like 3 or 4 times, but it's mostly justified. Like there's really no way for like a lot of that information to like become known like organically otherwise.
Yeah, I mean,
any more organically.
in a lot of ways, that is like one of the purpose that Roku's character serves,
Yeah.
and in
like the
any
old sage like
Yeah.
type of thing.
in any
But-
any like fictional narrative.
But they do it
You have
the
that.
episode where Roku is talking to Aang about his past, and simultaneously Zuko is reading the scroll from his was it great grandfather?
I think just grandfather.
One of the two, yeah. About his past, and it's like a simultaneous. That was really well done, especially just because when it gets down to it, that was basically just an exposition dump of like almost an entire episode.
Yeah,
like-
yeah,
It was really well done in that sense. You know what I mean? Where like it was interesting. Zuko was brought into it. You have the two sides simultaneously going.
there was like a mini narrative
Yeah.
which delivered the exposition,
Right.
which
yeah.
is like really smart.
Like because exposition dumps are like.
Bad.
I don't want to say they're a pet peeve of mine, but they're not good. You know, like especially if they're not organic by any means.
Yeah.
Or like I don't think the other Roku stuff was like particularly bad or anything, but
No.
that was done definitely way better. I
Well,
thought.
one of my favorite parts about that episode is like who like you actually learn like you learn about who Zuko actually is. Like the fact that like Roku is actually his grandfather was
His mother's grandfather,
but he's related to Roku and
Sozin.
and Sozin is like, oi, like what the fuck, like if you think about it, like Zuko's more he actually has more blood relation to the Avatar than Aang does.
Yeah.
Which is like, what the fuck? Like, I love that like reveal. It's like so good because they hide it for forever because they don't because you know Zuko's mom is dead, not dead, banished,
No, yeah, kinda it's like a loose. I won't say it's a loose thread because I don't think, personally, at least I don't know what you guys think. I personally don't think this series was like I think that was like kind of a good like end to that where like the only reason he gets to ask about his mom is because Aang didn't kill the Fire Lord.
Yes.
So I think that was a great resolution. Like, would it be better if like I don't know, like because then we're delving into like sequel baiting or like you know like we're not getting a sequel ever kind of like area where like especially if they knew they weren't going to do like a follow up. Like I think that
I
was.
think
handled
they
really
ended
well.
up doing a comic.
Yeah, there is a
There
comic.
is a comic because I remember Kyle talked about it one time. I don't know if you told me that.
I have no idea, so it wasn't me.
I remember Kyle was in line with something, for something, and he was with somebody, whether it was like you or Colin. He was with somebody I knew. But like apparently Kyle like was talking to some guy, and the guy like had the comic book like memorized and was like told Kyle like everything about what happened because I remember you and I don't know, I haven't read the comics, I don't know, but I think it does involve the face sealer.
Yeah. So do we?
And remember when you and I talked about the face sealer one day about how like such a good fucking like idea, character as well with how he acts and everything, yet he doesn't
He's underused. The face
yeah,
sealer. It's just like he's a one-off thing. It's like a very cool idea.
Well, he is mentioned at least once later.
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
remember
like the final episode, but that's like it's just mentioned, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I'm not saying that makes up for like.
like I think he could.
You know,
So
he's used a bunch because he's mentioned one other time.
so Peyton and I were talking about this. Are we sufficiently talked? Have we talked about book 3 enough where we can now talk about the ending of the series, or do we want to talk about book 3 some more? Do we want to talk about the fucking Eclipse of Invasion? Like, or can we talk about the finale yet?
Well, I really like. I mean, I don't know. I like the Eclipse Invasion. I like that. Like I said, they kind of hint at the fact that they're prepared for it, and then it's like, oh shit, they're like really prepared for it because
Azula
the
knew.
editing tricks were like, it's like Aang bursts in. I think I don't remember the exact. Like, a lot of the stuff ends up being a blur.
Yeah.
With having binged it, so I might not be exactly right, but it's like something like Aang and Toph and Sokka burst in, and it shows like the Fire Lord, but then it like pans out and it's like the Fire Lord and Zuko.
Yeah.
So like, or like maybe it's vice versa with like what's her name, the sister, but like, so I like that a lot, but that was like a memorable point where like I was like, oh shit, they're actually gonna get to him. Like, how are they? Knowing the series doesn't end there, like how are they not gonna beat him? But then he's not even there. That's not even what's happening.
Dude, what was cool about the invasion is like how technologically advanced they got. Like, because the Fire Nation has like all the technology the whole way through the show, but finally, they're like that one engineer dude is like, yeah,
Well, 'cause
Sokka,
they
these plans you sent
he
me.
stopped giving him all his ideas.
Yeah,
So
and
that was
he's like,
one kind of thread that I think was like really well handled, like at least for a one-off,
it's like the tanks and the subs are powered by bending. It's like, okay, cool. Like you guys finally like came back and like actually like used the technology you needed. I thought the bait and switch of the fucking Eclipse being like hyped up as like this is gonna be the series finale. This is like, oh, this is the fucking trickety trick thing.
Well, do you remember it being aired? Because like
Yeah.
Okay. Because I do remember it being.
Everybody thought it was that was it.
It
Everyone was like, oh
everybody
shit.
did think it was this, and they, like I said, the advertisement was great for it. The setup was great for it. I'm really surprised Nickelodeon went along with the bait and switch, like as a company. But that was back when Nickelodeon was basically a different company than what they are now.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not sure if they would go along with something like that now, but like, at least back then they did, and they
Well, I mean,
did such a good job.
I'm
Like,
sure that
technology
concept was pitched like early. Like, I don't say I'm sure, but I feel my instinct would say that concept was pitched while book 2 was being produced. Because
at least while book
because
two,
they had
at
because
least.
the intention was always for Zuko to be his firebending teacher, for Zuko to have his redemption arc, and his like the fucking he would have had to be redeemed so much sooner before the eclipse for that to happen.
He would have had to be redeemed at the end of book 2.
Yeah.
Basically.
For that to happen, yeah.
But that bait and switch was also amazing. So like,
And
all those like, but all I'm saying is I'm applauding not just the writers. I'm applauding like everybody, because like Nickelodeon had to.
They have to go along with the marketing and like.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody was involved with that, and like.
And if
that goes along, like, that's something, the bait and switch for when that was aired was actually, like, great.
Genius.
Like, everybody went along with it, and they did pull it off.
What's also interesting is, like, we were talking about...
Well, he pointed out, I think you were outside at the time, he pointed out that episode is actually episode 10.
Yeah,
Typically
Yeah,
when,
it's
like...
10 and 11 are the two parts for
Yeah.
So it makes sense
which
for that
normally it
actually
would be, at least as far as the series has gone, all the multi-parts have been like, it would have been 9 and 10, or like, 1920,
Yeah.
But it still makes sense.
Because I remember
It's still
watching
there.
that and seeing episode 10 and thinking, oh fuck, there's only been 10 episodes. Wow, book 3 is going to be really short, I guess.
It still makes sense though, because it's like, okay, it makes sense that the final season's shorter.
Yeah.
So
it's actually longer. It's 20.
yeah, it ends up being longer.
21 instead of 20.
But at the time, fuck.
Yeah, great.
If you think about
great on everybody's part for
narrative structures, though, like we were talking about, book 2 is like act 2 of the structure. The books themselves break down into a 3-act structure within each season.
Oh yeah.
And the fucking the Eclipse is end of act 2.
Yeah.
The Eclipse is like end of act 2. We fucking had one objective throughout the whole narrative. Now we have a new
since
objective.
Since like the middle of book 2, basically.
Yeah.
Too. Like even more than just that book.
So you guys want to talk about the ending?
Well, do you want to talk about Zuko? I guess
when they're in the temple or whatever.
First of all, that air temple is fucking sick.
So one
Yeah.
upside down because it makes perfect sense.
One thing I never. So we forgot. The one of the sort of filler episodes was when the Toph was like jobbing. Like the gambling stuff.
Yeah.
And then gets wanted, and then they try to job the wanted bounty, and then get thrown into the wooden.
Well, that's more of a character development between Katara and Toph, because they've always had beef with each other, but it never truly went at it. That episode, they really do go at it.
Well, one thing with the guy, maybe I just missed something.
Sparky,
the guy
Sparky
with the
Boom Man.
eye on his head or whatever
Sparky,
that shoots
Sparky
fucking
Boom
lasers.
Man.
What's up with him?
He does
Like,
kind of
what's
come
he
out
doing?
in.
He's just a bounty hunter sent by Zuko.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what is his power? Like, why
I
is
think
he?
it's a firebending, but
Why
his
is he
power
shooting lasers out of his forehead?
Yeah.
It's just a very. It's like an ancient firebending technique that was like you could like spontaneously combust shit basically, and that's why
Did
he's.
they ever explain that in the show?
No.
But that's so it's like that's such a weird like.
It was weird.
It was very weird.
But
And
like,
then, like
you
the
couldn't-
counter
you
to
never
him is
saw
just
the
hitting
movie.
him on the head, and then like when he shoots a laser, he just blows his head up. It's like I don't know. That was kind of bizarre.
it was bizarre, but it was kind of like I don't know. I feel like watching that even as a kid, you could be like, oh, okay, so he's clearly doing some sort of bending technique, and which is creating a fire result, an explosion of fire. You're in the Fire Nation, so he's some sort of weird firebender.
That's
Hipster
fair,
firebender.
But
He's not
for
mainstream.
a show that normally goes to great lengths to
Yeah.
explain
Yeah,
their magic lore, that was like really out of place. I thought.
you are right. Yes.
Especially because it was like on this like Terminator-looking guy who has like a metal leg and a metal arm, and like he doesn't ever say anything, and it's like.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was very. It was.
They needed to add
They
some.
could've had
Well,
a different
they no
bounty.
longer
They
no
could've
longer
had any
Like, there was
kind
no
of
backstory.
well they
to
no
this
longer
guy,
had the
no
tension.
context
So
for anything.
season 1 had the tension of Zuko hunting them. Season 2 had the attention of Azula hunting them, and season 3 they had no tension of anybody hunting them because Aang was dead. So they needed the tension of they had to come up with something, and that was the answer.
Well, I just think they could have come up with something like another bounty hunter.
They could have at least given it a little more
firebender,
attention and like
Explanation.
Well, not even
Flesh that out a little
explanation.
bit.
Like
Yeah.
you could, you didn't have to have more explanation. It's just like you didn't need to give him a unique ability that you didn't explain. You know, you could have just had him be a firebender that was just a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Or like even just a firebender that makes use of his fucking metal shit, because that never really comes up.
yeah, he just has metal.
Like maybe he
has
like
a metal
maybe he
arm
can
and
like
a leg.
machine gun fire blast or something with his hand. Like I don't
Because he
know,
had
like
a
just
metal
anything,
hand.
you know, like it doesn't have to be necessarily something completely unique that they never delve into or further
Yeah, he
explain.
just has, and it comes out of his forehead. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it literally doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. But
It's cool. I will say it's cool as fuck. But like, in terms of like lore and how good the show is previously, with like teaching how
and even
everything
after
works.
that, with like the jailbreak, like they have the hot air balloon, and he's like, well, we can't rise because all the air is like incredibly hot, so like we're gonna fucking crash in the volcano when they're like going to the
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they go so in depth with explaining
like they're normally
so much.
really good at that, and that was like so far out of left field. It's really jarring. I thought.
I actually.
No, you're right.
But okay, so after that, because after that we have, so after the invasion. Oh wait, we didn't talk about how fucking actually dark the bloodbending episode is.
Well, that episode was also like their Halloween episode.
It was, but
Because it came out it came out like Halloween.
or like a couple
Like
days
like
prior.
yeah,
or
the
something.
week of Halloween it came out.
Yeah, that. And for obvious reasons, I mean, it is the like she is literally like.
I have
a
November
witch.
9th as original air date.
Oh.
So
Well,
I mean, a little
so-
bit after.
Right after Halloween.
Yeah,
a week and a
still
half
the
after.
season
Yeah.
of Halloween. Man, that episode was fucking dark though. Like we knew the show was dark and like gloomy before, but like, bro, it literally shows like the water tribe being like tortured. Like it's like what the fuck? Like the waterbenders are being tortured. Like that's fucking dark as hell. Like for
Oh yeah, dude, it was great.
Ethan's like, yeah, show that. Like teach these
Dude,
kids a lesson.
You know, I love some animated war crimes.
You're so fucked.
That, for legal reasons, that was a joke.
For legal reasons, that's a joke.
No, great episode, dude. Like,
It is.
They're like, oh, you know, because it's like the Fire Nation was bad all along, but they never actually tell you how bad, and then it's like, oh yeah, this is probably a war crime.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
I
Dude,
think
they're
they're
like
like
being starved to death. What do
Yeah.
you mean? Like the one character literally dies from, or her one friend like pretty sure collapses from like being starved to death. Like it's like.
So just on that note, before I forget, I do kind of like the idea where like, they kind of flesh out the original motives of the Fire Nation, because like normally it's like, either they don't go into the motives, like we were talking about with Ava, where they don't really go into the motives of why they want to make everybody soup, or if they do, it's usually pretty dumb, where it's like they're like a cartoon villain, where like I'm gonna take over the world because I'm, that's whatever. But the reason why the Fire Nation initially invades, at least with their flawed logic, they think, well, we're so prosperous, we'll just conquer everybody, so everybody will end up prosperous by the end of it. It's not like we're literally going to kill people because we want to conquer them and we want to,
No,
like,
we
we
want
want
to
to
share-
rule everybody. It's like
Right.
We want to share
Yeah.
our.
So like as flawed as that is, that's at least a lot more plausible to me than like, I'm evil, I'm gonna conquer everything because
Which is
that's what I deserve.
Which one of the biggest complaints about the show, like after season 3, is that the Fire Lord ends up just being like, I want to rule the world more or less. Which is like,
Well, that makes sense
Yeah.
though, because he wasn't the one who started the war.
well, yeah, it does make sense, but like for how good like the reasons for like what the Fire Nation was doing, like, and then you just like,
Well,
are
I think
oh,
that-
he just,
I mean-
because like Azula is such a good villain. Like Azula is such a good villain with a lot of
I think
in-depth.
I think it fits because like, as good as it was that they had this motive, it was like still clearly flawed.
Yeah,
Like it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We're like, we're going to conquer all these peoples and force them to
right.
be like us so they can be prosperous.
The thing that I like about that is like when fucking Sozin is giving that speech to Roku, he's like, oh, imagine if we just shared this prosperity with the world, and Roku knows it's bullshit.
Yeah.
You can tell in Sozin's face when he's giving him that speech, he knows it's bullshit too, because it's not about we're going to share the prosperity. These other countries have resources that you need for your economy. Like, it's imperialism. It's, these other places have something you want, and this is your opportunity to
Well,
take
yeah,
it.
that's what I was saying.
And it's like-
as, because of how like clearly bullshit that is, it makes sense that like that wouldn't last over 100 years.
Yeah, That's also the thing that I loved about it too. Is it's like, it's clear. Sozin is clearly like, creating a narrative
Mhm.
of this is why we're doing this. When it's like you can see it in him, his face. He that's not why they're doing it.
Mhm.
You know, but that's how sold he's trying to get everyone to be. That we have a just reason to do this, to cover up that it's not just.
And then I do like kind of the weight they put on because like they fail at the end of the invasion and they're leaving and they realize like, oh, but they're not even trying to bomb us. They're gonna bomb the fucking subs. So like, what are we gonna do? And then they kind of have to like be like, okay, well, shit, like, let's send all the young ones out with Appa, and all the adults will just be fucking POWs, you know.
Yeah.
But they have like the right amount of they give that the right amount of weight.
Mhm.
You know, it's not like a light decision where like, oh, the kids are gonna save the day, they're gonna save us, break us out of shit. You know, it's like, well, we're gonna be fucking prisoners of war and like probably get tortured and shit. But like, you know, this is necessary to like fight another day. You know, so because they could have easily spun that in like a happy like, you know, happy-go-lucky like, you know, we can still save Aang and like, you know, I don't know. I just thought they put a lot of weight into that and didn't make light of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
the show gets tone correct,
yeah, that's I mean
like
that's not like
repeatedly.
Yeah.
necessarily exclusive to that, but that was like one part where like
Yeah.
it stood out to me personally where like they could have easily gone with like a more upbeat like, okay, well we failed, but like we can still get Aang out of here and you know all the important people like all the kids
Yeah.
and like you know we're still gonna get them next time, but like it was like, well shit, we fucking failed, and like now all the adults are gonna be POWs. So
Yeah, and Sokka really feels bad about that.
Yeah.
Sokka's like, this is all my fault. Like, this is like, he blames himself for it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, no, that one really hits home for Sokka.
and I like the way Kazuko's such a great character, but like because like even though he's kind of like the outcast, he knows exactly what Sokka wants to do when they're going. He like
Yeah, he just
asks
goes
him
with
why.
him.
Well, you know, like, or where would they keep my dad? You know, like, well, why the fuck do you want to know? Why would I tell you? He's like, oh, well, it just makes me, you know, sleep. I'll sleep better at night if I know. And then like, he goes, all right, there, he's probably over here, and then like immediately goes over to Appa to like wait for him, because he knows he's gonna try to go by himself.
Yep.
You know. So even as like, because like he kind of shows himself to be slightly.
I've like moved it
It's,
over towards you multiple times.
Podcast is an auditory medium, Peyton.
Okay.
Because like he shows he's like relatively socially inept. I mean, at least to an extent, you know. But,
Zuko.
like, he's still
Yeah.
But he's still like, okay, well, like I still, you know, can take these hints. Not that they were like subtle, but you know, I can still take these hints, and I care enough to like do
Yeah.
something about it.
And
you
he,
know?
I mean, Zuko, if anybody understands like a weird relationship with your father, and that's like what Sokka's like trying to like get back, I guess, you know,
Mhm.
in that episode, in that two-part episode.
That
The
was
Boiling
really
Rock is great episode, is great two-parter.
great.
It
Yeah.
is. Well, because like
Some of the best episodes I thought in the whole series.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, because it's a huge thing for Sokka, but it's actually an even bigger character development for Ty. Well, not big. Well, no, yeah, I think it's a bigger character development for Ty Lee and May actually.
And Azula, because that's when she fucking gets like
That's when she
betrayed,
first
when
starts
she
to
starts
break.
breaking.
Yeah.
That's when she
I will
first
I will
starts to
say,
break.
not having any context to the end of the show, I did think, like looking back, that was obviously like where she starts to kind of go crazy. I did think that kind of came out of left field a little bit, like because like most of book 3, she's like pretty calm and like even as like duplicit, what's the word? She's like
Duality.
yeah, she's like very clearly like not telling Zuko everything that she knows, but she's still calm about it. Like she's not like freaking out like a sociopath.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like I did think that kind of came out of left field a little bit at the end. Maybe I just wasn't paying full attention to her at the end of the prison break, but I mean, I guess that, like I said, it makes sense looking back. Like, obviously, like her two closest friends, like her brother's already gone, and then her next two closest friends already, and then like, kind of went against her. That makes sense, but there wasn't a whole lot of build up. At least not that I wasn't. It wasn't a build up for me to expect it. Basically.
Yeah, because she does go like full insane.
Yeah, she kind of goes like. I mean, it's clear like in the final bit, where like she's like banishing everybody, and it's like clear what they're building up to.
Yeah.
But like the jump from really calm for almost all of book 3 into that is like there's not a whole lot of transition.
There is a transition, but it's a very, very fast one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Which I can actually, I can agree with that. It is really fast. Everyone sees it coming. It being fast isn't a problem. It's just that, like, man, you probably could have had some, like, a little bit more of a build up to, like, more of a slower transition to her insanity.
I mean,
maybe.
I will say the
beach.
beach. It does come in at the beach episode, because I would even say it begins at the beach, though, because like when she's like, "Oh, your outfit is so sharp, it would pierce a Fire Navy ship, leaving thousands of men to drown in the ocean because it's so sharp." Like she starts slipping there.
Not just the beach episode though, because like even when she first goes to get Ty Lee, she like literally like forces her to like quit the job.
Well,
because like Ty Lee says no originally, and like
she like forces the circus leader to like make her shit way more dangerous or whatever. But that's the way I saw it. That was always like her like manipulative and like duplicitous side.
Well, I found it manipulative, but also
she's
like
an extremely manipulative character all along.
Yeah,
but they're kind of like unhinged, like very paranoid kind of persona. I thought came out of left field was kind of the more, like she was always manipulative, but like she's not even really manipulative at the end of the show. She's just like, you guys were 5 minutes late. You're fucking vanished because I can't trust you because you weren't on time. It's like there's not a whole lot of overlap there. I think.
That's true. Yeah, no, I do agree with that. I do agree with that. It just does happen out of like.
So I mean, those scenes were very important.
Obviously hints, but you could have had more of a build up.
Well,
yeah, they could have.
The big hint is her getting betrayed by her two friends.
Yeah.
But
like maybe have them be late.
That's just like the one thing, and then they kind of pigeonhole themselves because she doesn't have anybody else to really interact with after that to like show her getting more paranoid. It's like.
But
she
like,
just has her dad. And then, like, her two maids or whatever.
But she does get more she gets more paranoid because she doesn't have anyone to interact with.
Right. But, like, we can't see that because she doesn't have anybody.
It's like a catch-22.
Yeah, so. I mean, I get it, and again, it's like a nitpick, but, like...
It's good that they made her a dynamic villain, though. Like, she has a character arc, even if it's, like, a descent into madness arc. But it's like, more interesting than just having, like, a static villain.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Like it's a nitpick. For sure, but
yeah, Zula's character is great.
As I was saying it, I kind of realized like I don't know how I would make that better. So, like I was saying, it's kind of like a catch-22, but it is something I think wasn't done perfectly by any means. So,
I really do like Zula's character though, because like I said, I think I find her more of a villain. A better villain than
the Fire Lord.
Like way better of a villain.
Well, we didn't even see the Fire Lord for like the longest time.
Well, his reveal is so good because like I remember thinking he was gonna look like way different, and then he literally just looks like a normal dude. And like I know it's not that big of a reveal, but like I remember being like, oh, what does he look like?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember doing that, and then he ends up being looking like a normal dude.
I
If anything, he ends up looking like probably someone that could probably be sympathetic. But he
I
ends up
do
not.
in that vein. I do like because I think, well, it's not back to back, but like you have the sword episode where it's like the fire guy, and then he ends up being like a good guy basically,
Mm.
and then the water or the blood bending lady, who's water tribe, but she ends up being like crazy. I do like how they kind of hammer that point home where like. You know, just because they're Fire Nation doesn't mean they're bad people.
Well,
Just
with-
because
Yeah, yeah.
they're not from Fire
Same
Nation.
with Roku.
I feel like that.
doesn't mean
I feel like
they're
that was like one of the
good.
main points of season 3 because like even like episode 2, the dance episode or whatever, that's like the point of that episode is like
Kids are kind of like
these are just kids that are like being indoctrinated.
Yeah, like they
You
don't know any better. Well, it is
And the
definitely
adults-
point
the adults-
because like they gotta build up the fact that like because I mean like I know that like Katara has such a like against Zuko, but like Sokka has had more has had like a lot of reason to like and had shown at least prior to season 3 had shown a lot of like hate towards the Fire Nation
Yeah.
without any like blind hate. Like I remember when literally the beginning of season 2 when they when they're trying to get when they're trying to save Boomy when they're trying to save Boomy they accidentally take the governor's like child and like Sokka's like yo no fuck this baby it's a fucking Fire Nation
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
Like he's
like
fuck
it's like a
this
Fire
baby.
Nation baby. Like who cares? You know, like it's not worth anything. You know,
Right.
it's not worth keeping this baby alive other than being a hostage.
But even
kind of,
he
I
like doesn't really want that. Like he's like I don't want this hostage either. Like hey, he's like just fuck this baby because it's a Fire Nation baby. Like
Yeah.
so like he has like so much hate towards the Fire Nation. They like I think they like even though he ends up not caring about Zuko being on the team. I found it actually really strange that he didn't care. Even though they do like ride it home that like because like in the episode with Roku in specific, Aang is like, well, what's the point that like they're all evil? It's like no.
Well, no, that's like kind of the opposite point that I think he was trying to make.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
Racism. But so yeah, so I do like. I mean, especially when it's not the show's not necessarily aimed at kids per se. It's definitely like a show that can be enjoyed by kids. So, I mean that's if they're gonna hammer something home, that's like a good one to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is. I just like how they did it. I really like how they did it and everything. So Katara's episode with Zuko. What did you think of that episode? What did you guys think of that episode?
It was all right.
With her going to find her mother's killer.
You know, I don't know. I don't want to be like. I don't want to like sound some type of way, but it's not bad. It's just not as good. It's not. It's very very dramatic, and I didn't feel like the overall story was as good as the drama that ensued. Um,
I thought it
Sokka's
was overly dramatic for what.
it was.
Yeah.
And I understand that Katara, her character arc and her character development had to be carried out that way for the themes of the show, and that it was important for the themes of the show for her to become increasingly more extreme in her hatred of the enemy and dehumanization of the enemy for the themes of the show, and like therefore for her to give that up is like what the show's about, right?
Yeah.
They had to take her to that point so that she could forgive, because otherwise it wouldn't have been meaningful or impactful. So, and in that regard, I think it's good. I think the meaning behind
I mean,
it is
it
good.
works. It's just not executed like perfectly.
Yeah, it's good. It works. I'm not even sure what genre I would fit that into, because like clearly the fucking like the Boiling Rock is like an escape slash heist genre. Um, the fucking
Revenge is bad. That's what that is.
I mean,
Like,
maybe film noir you could throw it in that genre.
I mean, like Aang,
Aang
kind of
and
spells out everything at the beginning. It's like you're not gonna want to kill him when you see him. Like you better not. Like kind of shit.
yeah,
And she's like, well, we'll see. And then like, it ends like exactly how you're told it will, almost.
yeah. It's
Even
almost
after
like
all
a
of the melodrama.
it's almost like a parable in a way.
Well, I wouldn't even say melodrama, but you know what I mean. All of the drama.
Like I understood why they did it the way they did, and it was important for her arc at the end of season 3, and in that regard I liked it. It does feel contrived because they're like, oh, let's just go find the guy that killed your mom, and it's like, yeah,
I can't
we have a
appreciate-
war to win here. We can have like a fucking, Nuremberg trial after the fact and get that dude like later.
yeah.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
Can
Like-
appreciate because that's right after the prison ones.
Yeah, so
And
Sokka
then,
got
like,
his.
At the end, Toph like makes a comment about like, well, it's my turn for an adventure with Zuko.
Well, that's for the
Toph?
That's for the season. That's like during the intro of the movie.
Yeah.
Toph gets like screwed over,
For how good of a character,
in season 3.
For how good of a character she is, she does get really
she
screwed
does get
over in season 3.
shortchanged in a lot in their run time, like screen time in
It's
season
so much
3.
a factor that I bet they wrote that line like, oh, everyone else got an adventure except for me. I bet they wrote that like in hindsight, being like, yeah, we kind of like.
Like
Well,
at least we can make a joke out of it.
Yeah,
I at least
like,
appreciate the
it's
fact
like-
that like, they realized, okay, well, like Sokka went on an adventure with Zuko, and then like Taro
Well,
did, and then
If Sokka's hadn't been a
So-
two-parter, then they could have done a Toph episode. You know?
Yeah, so like I can appreciate them at least joking about how they didn't give that Toph an episode.
Yeah,
So
but I mean,
Sokka
Toph's character
versus
arc
Zuko.
is shorter than everyone else's. Like it's an arc, but it's not a long arc.
Which actually, in
Um,
reality, like her like arc with her parents actually never comes to a conclusion.
It doesn't come to conclusion, and it's like a very like
She
deep
writes a-
theme
she
that-
it's like an afterthought.
Well, she writes a letter,
Yeah.
but that's it. They don't actually ever have her talk to her parents again.
well, like
Which
so
is kind
with
of like sad. Almost.
with Toph, it's like you could have really explored some important things here, but
Yeah.
they just didn't because
Well,
they had other
way-
stuff
the
going
way
Wait
on.
a
I-
second. I can't believe how closely resembled I am to Toph in terms of their relationship with their parents. What the
I'm
fuck?
glad you're not. I'm glad we're both thinking that.
Oh wait, what the fuck?
It really do be that way.
The-
Hey,
the
that's
shit
rough,
impression-
buddy.
Huh?
That's rough, buddy.
That's rough. Yo, you hate to see it.
You hate to see
The
it.
impression I got was that they intended. Now I have no idea if this is even true or like if this is whatever, but the impression I got is they always wanted book 3 to be the full like an exact 20 chapters again, like books 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But like they couldn't just because like they were getting down to the wire and they're like they couldn't do all they needed to do to like resolve the story, so they ended up doing the big like movie-esque kind of like thing where like the last 4 chapters are all one. It's like 17, 18, or it's 18, 19, 20, and 21 are all like
One storyline.
yeah, right. So
See, I like that.
I like the.
well, I like it too, but like I came out with the kind of interpretation that they like kind of ran out of room to do everything they wanted to do.
They wanted to do
like you're
more.
saying, like Toph, that was basically like an afterthought of like at the end resolve of that arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Toph's character character class, I guess, if we're gonna call it that, is the big guy. She's
Yeah.
the big guy in the 5-man band. She's like the big tough dude,
The
which
brute.
is obviously her
Yeah,
being.
she's the brute.
Yeah, she's Groot.
The brute.
Well, and Groot.
Well, yes.
But so she's like in the 5-man band. That's her character type, and they play that trope in the play where she's like, I sound like guy, a really big guy,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
like that's what you're. She was actually supposed to be a boy originally, I guess, but like they turned
Oh,
like,
really?
I guess so. But like by making her like a small like blind girl, they like turn that trope on its head, and it works. It works very well to a great comedic extent. Um, but because like very rarely does the big guy, the brute character, get much of an arc in any narrative.
That's true. Yeah.
They're like Chewbacca doesn't get a fucking arc.
No, he doesn't
Eh,
have one at all.
You know what I mean?
I mean, in
Groot
reality, he
barely
doesn't have-
does,
he doesn't have
you
that
know?
much of a
While
character,
that may be true,
so.
I don't think that necessarily like absolves it.
No, I'm just
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
but that is
Like good or like okay for kind of the column to put
standard.
in doesn't
The
necessarily
standard.
mean it's any better or worse.
I mean, I would say it's better than the standard when it comes to character arc for like the least developed character in the main group of the
Well,
main group.
My point is, despite like being a better character than most brutes doesn't mean she's a good character. Having a good arc for a brute doesn't mean it is a good arc.
No, yes,
You know
yes,
what I mean?
It could have been better.
yes,
So that's kind of
yes.
my.
I just was sad to not see like a true conclusion with her parents. Or at least,
Unfortunately, yeah.
So, to go back on the episode with Katara and Zuko, my big takeaway on that episode was Zuko realized Katara could fuck anybody up at any moment.
Does he end up asking her to come with him at the end versus Azula?
Yeah. Or is it him that asks?
I forget if
I
she
think-
offers or if he
I
asks her.
think he asks her to come. I
I
might
think
be
he
wrong,
does.
but I
think
did
he
just
does.
watch it, so.
I think he does ask her to come, but like he like that moment when she's bloodbending him, he like because I think there is a literal shot of him just being like staring at like what's happening, like
That's the first guy, right? You mean on the ship?
Yeah, yeah.
The one that
Yeah.
wasn't actually him.
yeah, and he's like, and Zuko's like.
He's like, oh shit.
like what the fuck? Like this, like she's literally like moving him, like controlling him, like this bitch can literally like just
And
kill anybody, and I mean kill anybody, bro. You can make them do something they don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like you could like walk,
Yeah.
you could like follow them and force them to do. You could blackmail somebody by actually making them do something. Like it's so like
Once a month.
no, because she does it multiple times without a full moon.
No, she does it with it's only with the full moon, bro.
No, that's how it's introduced. That's how bloodbending
No,
is
bro,
introduced.
bro.
She does.
Well, when does
She does it twice that episode, and
No,
both of them,
that-
one of them's without a full moon.
No, that is with the full moon, bro.
Both
she
times.
doesn't.
Yes.
So they wait. So that you're telling me that episode is a month long.
Does she even do it
'Cause
against
it's-
the other guy?
She doesn't do it against the second guy. She doesn't do it against the guy that actually
The
killed her
old
mom.
guy?
Yeah, she doesn't do it against him.
I swear she does.
No, she doesn't
I don't
have
think
to.
She does.
Oh, okay.
He's
I
a
thought-
frail
He's,
old
like,
man. She doesn't
pitiful
have
and,
to.
like,
I thought she.
I don't think she does it against.
No, it's just on the ship.
Oh, okay. I thought it was.
Because I think she only does it twice total. It's like
Yeah.
in the episode where it's introduced, and then in that episode.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yes, correct.
Okay.
I mean, the episode is solid. It's
I think the overall episode is solid.
it's a
I
dark
just-
revenge story, but
I like the. I just like the idea of like Zuko having a realization of like, because like he knows how strong Katara is, but like he like witnesses like her full power, and it's
Yeah.
like one of the only people to actually witness it.
Yeah.
Like, and is like
It's pretty much the only one. I mean, I guess they all kind of see her
they see her control
the lady,
but she doesn't really like do anything to the old lady.
She
just
just stops
like
her from-
stops her.
yeah.
Whereas like she's like fucking that guy up. Like it's like I don't know. I just like the idea of Zuko like witnessing like almost like
her wrath.
well, not her wrath, but like a fear, like of similar or like even like more like scarier nature than lightning. Because like lightning, you'll at least like you'll get shocked, but like more than likely you'll die immediately. But like the bloodbending, like bro, she could fucking like she could torture you to death in who knows how many ways.
Scarier.
Yeah, in scarier ways than like lightning. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because he's already seen lightning and dealt with lightning. Like, how do you counter being bloodbended? Like, you don't. Like,
Don't go out on a full moon.
Hopefully, it's not that time of the month for Qatar during a full moon. Oh.
All right.
God.
You didn't need to take it there.
The wrath that would go.
So yeah, so the Raiders, and then the one episode we didn't talk about in book 3 was the dragons one.
Oh, the
Yes.
dragons
So-
episode I actually do like.
I like
because
that.
I'm obsessed with dragons, so it's
I just like it because it's like fucking Indiana Jones.
yeah, so do I. Yeah.
It's the adventure genre.
Yeah.
So I was just like,
It's a fun episode. It's a fun.
it's
episode.
fun.
Like not like a buddy cop, but it's like kind of like they have that kind of vibe going
Yeah.
where it's like a 2-man Indiana Jones, you know, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that one doesn't feel contrived.
Dude, I actually wish that the.
Too contrived, I guess.
I guess, dude, I kind of wish I would have seen more of these native firebenders do more. To like see what the power is, but I guess that comes out with Iroh, because Iroh was the only other person to know about that.
yeah,
place.
there's no other like firebender real characters. I mean, they could have made one or whatever, but
Well, because there's actual natives there, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
okay.
Sun Warriors, who are like clearly based on the Aztecs.
Yes, obviously. But like, I kind of wish I would have seen the extent of their power, but I'm assuming that comes out with Iroh, because Iroh was the only other person to go to that place and know about the dragons and everything. So like, he probably learned stuff from them.
I mean,
I'm
he was spouting his
assuming.
nonsense.
Huh?
I mean, he was spouting his stuff, you know, like the whole time, basically. We're like,
Yeah. So maybe that comes out with that.
Like,
I mean,
that
I'm
was
curious
really
on what their fighting style is. You know what I mean? That's more. or less what
I
I'm
like
trying to
that
get.
kind of, like, cause, like on the face value, where like Zuko loses his bending and has to like go on a journey to self-reflect and like get it back. Like that's like very typical, like kind of contrived, like whatever. But it ties into the themes really well. Where like the lightning kind of side, the conquering Fire Nation side is like very rage and like, like anger filled. Where like, you know, he's kind of calmed himself. He's not like mad at, you know, Aang or like his. I mean, he's kind of mad at his father, but it's different, you know.
There's almost like most of the Fire Nation doesn't learn a pure sense of fire.
Yeah.
They
So
learn
I
a
do like
rage.
that aspect, that kind of like lore aspect
It's
to it.
that episode makes the war tie into the redemptive themes of the show.
Right.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's what is important.
Yeah.
And then
okay.
and then otherwise the last episode is the play.
Which the play episode is great. I mean, there's so many jokes in it. They play off of the tropes, like you said, like
The clip episode,
Huh?
the clip show
Yeah, the
episode.
clip show
Clip
episode.
show with effort.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, you guys wouldn't know, but it reminds me of Endless 8 and Haruhi, where like the
Oh, wait, Endless 8. You've told
Dude,
I've
my
told you
favorite,
about this,
bro.
Yeah, when we were waiting in line for Still Vengeance. So basically,
Yeah.
it's an anime adaptation of a light novel, where like the light novel is like, it's only like a part of the book where they have to, essentially they redo Summer Vacation over and over and over, but the main characters don't know it, And they have to kind of, it's like a Groundhog Day, but they don't remember afterwards, basically.
Okay.
So, but for like the entire summer vacation, um, but it's like pretty quick. It's like a few chapters in the books. When they adapted it to the anime, they actually made 8 episodes that are the same thing of the entire summer vacation happening, and then it getting reset afterwards. But they're all animated completely differently, as if they were completely original episodes. So like nothing's reused. Like even like shots, no animation cuts, no outfits even. They're all completely different. Like 8 episodes that are basically the exact same.
Like
That's interesting.
It's
yeah,
really bizarre,
yeah.
and especially when it aired, people were like really pissed off that like they went like 2 months of like waiting for the show weekly to keep watching the same episode over and over. But
Yeah,
looking
that's
back,
kinda...
it's like really cool, and it like actually ties in to stuff later in the series, in a really interesting way. But basically, it kind of reminds me of that, where like it took this really kind of mundane, like almost usually like cost-cutting. I can't think of the word. I'm tired. Kind of cost-cutting like strategy, but like actually put effort into it and didn't do the cost-cutting part at all. They actually like fully animated, fully like storyboarded this episode, where like they made this whole episode out of a clip show, kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
And like put full effort into it, and like didn't just like do the easy way kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, also there's like some character moments in that episode with like Aang and Katara primarily, and they like, you gotta feel for Aang when they're like, Aang's sitting there and the play is like Zuko and Katara in the cave, and she's like a brother, and he's just sitting there like, fuck. Like,
Yeah, no, Aang is fucking like it. I mean, like, I know it's supposed to be a play off of like young love, but like, bro, you gotta feel for Aang, dude. Like, he's just this 12-year-old kid who has like
he has
no
nothing. He has nothing in
terms.
this new world aside from his buddies.
Yeah, but like, bro, like he is like he's like for the 12 years that he has lived, right? He's lived with monks. The kid's got no social skills at all, right? Yeah, you gotta feel for the kid when he's going after guitar. Like he just like anything he said, like he doesn't know what to say. And when he does say it, you can tell it's cringe as fuck, but it makes so much fucking sense. Like you can tell the kid's fucking trying his hardest. Like it's so sad to see him.
And it makes sense too that Kitaro would be like, let's not deal with this right now, please.
Yeah.
Like, one, it's as uncomfortable as it is, and two, like, we're gonna go off to war in a second, so like, let's not, please. So, I mean, it's like justified on both ends.
Yeah.
Whereas like Sokka on the other hand, he's like, hey,
He's
what
like,
up?
Oh, he literally has his arm
He's like, I'm gonna
around-
die.
Yeah, well, dude, he's wait. I love the one episode. Is it Zuko like goes into the one tent to?
Oh,
yeah, it's a
yeah.
Katara episode, and he's
He's asking about who killed their mom.
and he's going over to Sokka's tent, and like Suki is walking over. He goes, "Whoa, what are you sorting up?" She goes, "Nothing." And like goes back to her tent.
He's like,
and then
did you need to talk to Sokka as well? And she's like, no, nope. I'll see you later. He's got the rose. His hair's like all down.
He's like, hello.
Dude, I was like, dude, I'm watching this with my mom right now. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Sokka's like, I already missed out on that moon puss. Like,
No.
like we gotta get something else in here, man. Like,
Hello. That's hilarious. That clip is actually so good. Cause like it's so
that's rough, man.
Well, I hate to see it. Hate to see it. Again, then he peeps his head out again. Suki, he's gone. and like Zuko's just like
Still
like turns around and Zuko's just like. Zuko's like, oh.
Like, of course Zuko knows. Like, bro, like, you literally freed this chick from a prison. Like, you knew they had a thing.
At first he didn't know, because at first he's like, oh, do you need to go see... Like, cause
I guess did he not know in the
casual.
prison? Like, definitely in the prison, he definitely knew they were, like, a thing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I mean, that could be interpreted just as in that like moment where
He
like,
wasn't thinking
he didn't
about
know what she was like going over.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. At the moment.
Just like,
he
oh,
didn't
did you want to
realize.
talk to him too? It's like, oh no.
At
I'm
that
good.
moment, he didn't
It didn't
realize
occur to him, yeah.
until he opened the curtain. When he opened the curtain, he knew
Because
exactly.
Zuko knows what's going on. I mean, he's got May. Like, he knows what's up.
He's got me.
Zuko's
Oh, my
not some, yeah.
Toph gets the short end of the stick for everybody because, like, she gets
Yep.
a slight crush on Sokka. Wait, she gets a slight crush on Sokka too. What the? It's literally like every girl.
Dude, that was funny as hell when,
What?
like, with the serpent's pass, like,
Yeah.
she's like, "Thank you, Sokka." Like,
Oh
kisses
yeah,
it.
he goes.
It's like
You
Suki.
can let me drown now.
You can Suki,
That was
like,
such a
you
good line.
Suki's like, you let me drown now. He says it. She says it to the girl that he ends up like being with. Oh my goodness.
Also, like, that episode, the scene where Suki's like, trying to smooch. She's like trying to get him under the moonlight. It's like the full moon, and he's like, "No, I can't."
Yeah.
Like, that was like a very well put together scene.
It was.
Like, that
It was.
very-
Like she would have no context except for like this is a romantic situation, and he's like, "Fuck, I'm like cheating on my other
He's
girlfriend."
like, my ex girlfriend is up there watching right now.
My ex-girlfriend's watching. That's a little
Dude,
bit
they
awkward.
reference that in the play too. She's like, "You never told me you made out with the moon spirit."
Oh, yeah.
He's like, "Shut up."
He's like, oh yeah, because he's like crying at the scene. He's like, shut up, Suki. Like, and he's like super into the scene.
Dude, have you seen the meme where it's like the dude going like the peace symbol over the guy's grave,
Oh yeah.
but it's like Suki and it's like the moon spirit on the gravestone. It's like when your boyfriend's ex-girl turns into the moon.
God, I know I haven't, but that's hilarious. Holy cow.
Yeah, dude, I get a lot of Avatar memes coming up on my Instagram suggestions.
Let's go. Okay, so alright, let's talk about
So the end. So then
let's
at
talk
the end
about
they
the
realize
finale.
like, oh shit, Aang hasn't mastered firebending, and then they're like, oh wait, he still isn't like mastered earthbending or anything either. So like, we should get on that kind of thing.
Dude, Zuko's like, "Y'all are still playing at the beach." he like fucking
We got
shoots a
another
fireball.
beach episode in book 3.
We got two
Two, dude. He's like, one is enough.
He's like,
He's like, dude, I've already
"Oh,
dealt with this
we're
shit
all
before."
playing on the beach." He's like, "Oh, you got it. The Susan comment comes in 2 days." He's chasing him around the house,
Yeah.
shooting at him. He's like, "Susan's comment comes in 2 days. You gotta be ready." Like, Zuko's the only one who's like taking it seriously. I love it.
Well, he says that too. He's like, I'm the only one taking it seriously, and they're all just like,
Yeah, I guess. Like, what's the rush?
what's the rush? They're like, what do you?
It's like, oh, they're literally going to nuke the Earth Kingdom. Like,
and they're all just like, oh, like fuck. Wait, they're like, they're about to go Hiroshima on this bitch.
Hiroshima on this bitch. Unbossing is saying. That's like the, in the history of Japan, it's like
That's what I'm-
cities that exist, Hiroshima, or cities that do not exist anymore, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Bossing say.
There is no coronavirus in Boston.
That's a
Oh, there's no coronavirus.
That's one of those like laugh or like holy shit, that's like pretty hardcore, like joke. Have you seen that video, History of Japan?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
he
classic.
has. That's like the best part of that video.
Yeah.
But then they dropped the bomb on him. Actually, they dropped two.
Because he has the bomb explosion, but lets it like completely fade out, and he goes, "Actually, they dropped two."
He's like, it's time for colonialism.
Yeah. and they brought Jesus.
Guns.
Oh, guns.
Boats.
Boats.
With guns.
Gunboats.
I love the. Could you maybe chill? How about you? Maybe you chill. So they supervise the railroad. With a crap ton of soldiers, and then they downgraded to a fuck ton.
Oh, did I say downgraded? I meant upgraded.
So we're just gonna keep quoting that video until the cows come home. So
No, now we are.
anyway,
So yeah, everybody's like,
the secret society comes back
yeah,
because like that hasn't been mentioned like at all.
the
since,
White
like,
Lotus.
The desert.
The White Lotus.
Yeah, since like the desert episode, I don't think.
The White Lotus.
I love that they hyped it up since season 1 with the pirates. He's like, I lost my. He's like, Uncle, why are we going in the wrong direction? He's like, it's like I lost my my White Lotus pie show tile, and I was hoping.
I never connected that because it happened so early.
Yep.
Yeah.
One
That's how important that is. That they have to go get it.
Yeah, because he doesn't know when he's gonna have to fucking
Yeah.
bam whip out the fucking Illuminati chip
Yeah.
and call in the
Basically,
fucking
yeah.
White Lotus pie show boys. He's like, yo, I lost it. We're getting it right fucking now.
Don't you recognize me? You know, like.
Like, don't you recognize me? Well, you don't have the chip. You don't have the poker chip. You don't have the pie show tile.
Maybe you're getting bloodbended right now.
Yeah.
They put the chip on and they start playing the game. And Sokka's and Zuko's just like, why,
It's fucking crazy.
why are we, he said, why am I watching him play Pie Show right now?
Now that you two geezers have finished your card game.
I love because he's always like, he always like wins when they're like in book 1 and stuff, when they're on the ships. He always like wins against the crewmates, and he's like, but you were very close. I think you will win for sure next time.
Yeah.
It's like-
He's hustling them.
You know for a fact, he's that chess player that's just like, he knows his shit. It's
like you were very close. If you play again, you will probably win.
Dude, he's like,
Dude,
what?
He was always hustling like everybody. Like Iroh was always hustling everybody. Like,
And then he gets ripped, and he's playing like the crazy like. That was one of the coolest like, because like I'm thinking like normally he can just like play whatever, but like how is he gonna get like, you know, how is he gonna disguise clapping push-ups? And it's like, oh, he's just a fucking crazy old man clapping in the air.
yeah.
They're like fucking geezer, like shut
And
up.
then
And
but
he's
that's
just
not the
ripped.
first.
He's like the Hulk.
Well, that's not the first like anime old guy anime beef reveal. The first one is Boomy.
Yeah.
The first one's Boomy, and he's just like. And it's like he literally does the trope. He like rips his shirt like.
But we get to see the training montage for Iroh.
Yeah, we do get to see.
He's
it.
doing one-handed pull-ups by the end.
while eating a rice cake.
It's fucking badass. And then he's like,
Hey, I'm
he's
not
like,
that
you've been
fat. I'm not that fat anymore. I really trimmed down.
I really trimmed down.
I really trimmed down.
He's like, you've been so nice to me. I think you look a little sick. You maybe need a day off. No, actually, I feel fine. It's good. It's like, no, you want to be home. You want to go home.
You need to leave. Like,
It will be best for you if you go home today or something like that.
I really think you should take the day off.
And she's like, oh no, I'm fine. Like,
You're not looking so good.
you really should get the hell out of here because I'm about to.
So I don't have to punch you in the fucking jaw.
so I don't have to fucking.
All right, so Riley, what was your impression of how they wrapped it all up? The like 4-part ending.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean,
Or I guess should I have context about how it aired? Because like how it aired was also amazing. It was like a huge event. It was almost
Dude,
like
yeah,
an
dude,
Endgame event.
give him some context
well,
on how
I
it
mean,
aired.
I
While
I don't have context for how it aired. So like,
Yeah. So basically, it was so sick. It was almost treated like an Avengers Endgame type of deal. Like it was every advertisement. It was almost every single advertisement on not only Nickelodeon but also Nicktoons. Even though it wasn't premiering on Nicktoons, because it was the same platform, they were still like advertising for it. Which I wouldn't be surprised if they were advertising for it on the other like Nickelodeon platforms. Um, but like they were like advertising it out the wazoo. People, and it aired over the summer as
it's
well.
like July 19th.
Yeah, it aired over the summer as well. So like everybody was home from school.
Actually, that's really so they were doing like. I'm looking at the release schedule. That was really crazy how they were doing. So they did. Because we were talking about the water or the bloodbending one was in November 2007. And it was a week later, November 16th, 2007, and then they waited, took a week off to do the Eclipse episodes back to back.
Yeah.
On November 30th, and then they literally took a 6-month break of airing to do one a day.
Yes.
July 14th, 15th, 16th.
Yes.
17th, 18th, and then 19th.
That's
really
a huge
sick.
event because
like
basically, because what they did in the time between that, they replayed the whole series. So like,
so you could catch up or whatever.
If you're missing out, because like literally after the big this wasn't the season finale. For all the people who were just like, oh, let me watch the season finale, and then it wasn't. It was
the
like,
Eclipse one.
Boom! You can actually guess what? Now you can actually watch it.
Watch the whole thing, and then watch all the new ones.
And everybody was talking about it in school because it was happening before the summer, and then it led up into the summer, and like people were having.
And then there's like no excuse to miss it because
you're all in.
It's in the summer.
It's in the summer, exactly. So everybody was people were viewing parties, and everything. Like it was so sick. Like when it was airing, like I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. It was such a cool experience, honestly, for a show. But anyway, yeah. So, and then there was a huge build up for the movie because that's how it
basically was a movie. It was like an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
With no commercials, so it would have been like a two and a half hour block almost probably.
Yeah. So it was really sick.
It's what 2? It's like 3:00, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, it was such a sick event. That's what, at least
Ethan's getting a snack.
I'd like to call it. I'd like to call it an event. So.
It's savor. It's o'clock.
So
But yeah, so I mean,
who's eating a Krabby Patty at 3 a.m.? Oh boy, it's 3 a.m.
Oh boy, 3 a.m. I do think the idea of like oh shit, like Aang hasn't mastered like the elements yet. Like we better get on that. Like
makes sense.
I mean,
well, not makes sense. They're not like saying we better get on that. Their logic is like, what's the point? Let's just wait till afterwards, and then he.
Well, the whole time they were like, we have to do it before the comet comes, like the whole series.
Yes.
Until the Eclipse part failed. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, so then they realized that, well, he literally doesn't have time to master the elements, so what's the point in even trying? He'll probably just lose. Is probably what they would. No, it is what they were thinking. That's what they explained. Like.
Well, but then they were like, well, let's just wait till afterwards. But like, what was the reasoning for like why they can wait now again?
There really wasn't any reason because from the beginning of the series, it was like, oh.
No, that's what he just said.
Yeah, I know. What I'm saying is, it was like just negligence on their part.
Yeah, it
I
was
mean-
Negalites. Because they figured, like, okay, the only chance to actually beat, I guess their logic was the only chance for us to beat the Ozai was the Eclipse, because Aang wasn't strong enough to beat him. Now that the Eclipse is over, the only thing that we can do to beat Ozai is to, like, actually have Aang learn all 4 elements. And guess what? We have Katara, Toph, and Zuko to train him, right? So we can train him, but the comment's already arriving. So, like, what's the point in, like, rushing things? Like,
my
the
view
Earth
on
Kingdom's already taken. You know, in their eyes, Earth Kingdom, like, Ba Sing Se's
Yeah, I
literally
guess.
taken. Like, they literally, in their eyes, they already won the war, except for technically the North Pole, right? So I guess they probably could have been negligent about that, because, like, in reality, like, they didn't have to attack the Earth Kingdom. They could have attacked the North Pole, actually, and tried taking that.
There's not really any resources to be there's not a whole lot of reason to really go after the North Pole. All the natural resources are in the Earth Kingdom.
Yeah, and they actually are really small too, as well. So, like,
Cool, you are now king of ice.
Yeah, but they already
got Venice,
but they already ruled.
They got Venice in the North Pole.
I mean, it's
Like,
legit.
How do you not go after that?
They already ruled the Earth Kingdom, though, because they already took control and are ruling.
Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense.
But the Earth Kingdom is huge.
Well, it is huge.
It's like
Yeah, that's the thing though, because like
They still have to conquer the
they
rest.
conquered the capital, but not like everything.
Yeah, that's true. And the Earth Kingdom was the biggest. So okay, yes.
They conquered the 2 biggest cities, but not a whole lot else.
Yeah.
So
But like my
but like it was
my
just like,
point
well, like,
of-
oh shit, we're just like I don't know. Like, again, it's kind of a nitpick, but like it was like the whole show they were going under the assumption of, like, at least for the viewers' sake, we're like, we have to do this. We have to stop the Fire Lord before the comet.
I guess.
And then, like, they suddenly decide, like, off camera, like, well, let's just wait until afterwards because we already, like, lost most of our stuff and Aang's not strong enough anyway. Which, like, I mean, like, it makes sense within context of the show and the episode or whatever it is, the movie.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a cheap trick to, like, be like, oh, we changed our minds, kind of,
Yeah.
without telling the audience.
Yeah, I guess they couldn't really. I guess thinking from their perspective, they probably didn't really have another. They probably really couldn't think of another way to, like, introduce, like, all right, hey, Zuko explaining what Ozai's plan was. So I guess the only way for them to introduce that idea was to have something of that nature. So at least that's probably, like, the reason why they came up with that, was because they were like, how do we, how does Zuko casually bring up, Ozai's just gonna destroy the Earth Kingdom casually. You don't just bring that up in conversation.
I mean, their objective hadn't really changed. I mean, their
That's-
objective
from his
to beat
perspective, it
Ozai
didn't
before.
matter because they were going to have to stop him before that ended.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
it- so
that's
it did
what I'm
change.
saying,
But, like, the problem arises because everybody else decides that that's not what they're doing, and
yeah, so
the viewer doesn't even know that. So
Yeah, so that's the reason why they want, because Zuko knew about this. That was the whole one of the big.
well, it's
things
like
with the
contrived.
meeting.
Is like what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's
It's
what
like
I'm
not
saying.
again. It's not like
Yeah,
like the other
I'm
stuff
agreeing.
I'm talking about. It's not the biggest deal ever.
Yeah.
But
I'm agreeing that it is contrived. At least it makes. At least you can make sense of it. Like,
yeah, I
they
mean, you
did it
can
really
squint
well.
and, like, ignore it, but
Yeah.
it's like, for the. It's just kind of a cheap trick where, like,
Yeah, it is
everybody
cheap,
changed
it
their
is
minds
cheap.
without telling
Zuko.
even the audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is cheap. I will agree with that.
I mean, it is, but also at the same time, like, maybe they're trying to, like, cover their asses because, like, plenty of audience members could have been like, oh, they just said over and over again, Sozin's comment is going to be the worst thing ever, but, like, You
Yeah,
already
explain
lost
why.
everything. You already lost everything. They do explain why, but like you already lost everything. Why not just wait it out? You know? And some audience member definitely would have said that if they hadn't directly addressed it in the show.
Yeah.
And
That's fair.
that was
Because
cost
they
of
did have to explain like what is the worst that can come out of the comment.
Yeah.
Like because they do threaten it and they do say that like yeah they do gain more power with the comment, but like even with even with showing Sozin and
Roku.
they never actually show what they never actually showed what they did outside of like okay yeah they killed the earth nomads, right, but they don't actually show like exactly what they did or like the reason why they did what they did, right? So like especially since like we've all said they had already taken the earth kingdom.
Yeah.
It's not like they hadn't taken the capital already, like they had done it. So like what is the strategic advantage of having the comment? Like there is no strategic advantage if you in overall thinking about it, like they've already they have the biggest advantage. They have the capital, which is the biggest city, plus they have oh no, technically
Omashu.
they didn't have Omashu. They
Well,
didn't have Omashu. Because
That's
Boomy
right,
took
'cause
it-
Boomy freed it
took
during the
back.
eclipse.
Boomy took it back during the eclipse, so they actually don't
That's
have
true,
Omashu.
yeah.
But nobody knew that. And
Well, the Fire Nation did.
Yeah, no, but the Fire Nation did know that.
the point is them revealing this like change of heart about waiting it out was not only a way to hedge their bets against criticism of like, oh, why didn't you just wait it out, and to reestablish the goal, like remind everybody what is the fucking goal, and it was having Zuko fucking like chase Aang around the fucking courtyard.
Like the beach episode.
Yeah, was a very expedient way from a like screen time perspective to like set up your goal for the like four-part
the
movie.
So, yep.
Yeah, like not the biggest deal ever by any means, but
Yeah.
like it works. It's just like could have been better.
So, season 3, I want to bring up the fact that season 3 brings back every like plot character really, even from like season 1, throughout the entire season. The big character that they almost forgot was the girl character, which we brought up.
With the lizard, the smelling lizard.
With the smelling lizard, they even brought back her
The Shirshu.
specifically for the movie, which is really sick how they brought him back, and they use her properly too. Like they use her, like not just in a bullshit way. Like how they introduce her to find Aang is actually like yeah, that makes sense. And then oh well, she can't find Aang. It's like okay, well now what? Oh, you're gonna find Iroh now, which is yeah, that is your next best option. So like it may like the whole like reasoning behind why they find her is like actually really good. It's not like just like we're just gonna throw her in for like for reference.
For a cameo.
Yeah, for a cameo. Like no, she actually is there for a reason. So I like it. So because like honestly the other characters from the invasion are kind of there for just cameos. It makes sense why they're there for the invasion because they need a force. So it makes sense that all those cameos are for the force, but they're just cameos in reality. They're all just cameos. I think her actually usage is.
I mean, that's like a plot point.
Yeah, hers is a plot point.
Like they don't find Iroh without her.
Yeah.
Like just period.
So the the final Agni Kai is fucking obviously amazing. My question is,
That's the best fight in the whole show. That's the best.
Which one? What was
fight.
it?
The Agni Kai. Zuko versus Azula.
Oh, okay.
That into transition with Katara and Azula fight, which that actually had build up too. That actually I think had some build up too.
Because they fight in the caverns before.
Yeah, so like that actually had some build up too.
Um, Riley, what did you think about Aang versus Ozai, and specifically how Aang defeats Ozai with the fucking energy bending and the lion turtle, and the way how he gets into the Avatar state?
So I actually couldn't even understand the lion turtle. I had to like rewind a few times.
Same, bro.
So, dude, the lion turtle upsets me so much. Like, it's so.
So like that's like a Deus Ex. Like,
Oh no, it isn't. It is just like.
I think it fits with the character where like, you know, Aang's like going through this anguish of like, well, I don't want to kill him because that's not what I do, and like I don't believe in that, but like I don't know what other option there is. But then it's just like, oh well, you just do this thing, and then like you'll take away his bending.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well like that's a very Deus Ex like type of thing.
I've realized that like when I was talking to you a couple weeks ago about this after we watched the movie, we went on a whole discussion about the whole situation. And I guess my bigger frustration wasn't necessarily like I was arguing about the motive, but I've realized that was like not stupid, but like I've realized that like no, the motive, like it is the whole purpose of the show was to like, you know, forgive your enemies and like
and like I said, I think
everybody deserves
that fits extremely well with like the only way Zuko can ask